Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And good afternoon, Indonesian time for everyone here. How are you? I hope you are all doing fine. It's so excited actually. We have already stand by here like an hour because it's quite energized to see the participant coming, and then it's coming from several different countries as well. So I'm Nia and I will be the moderator for today. So welcome to World Class Professor Unima 2020. So this World Class Professor, this program is held by Engineering Faculty of Muhammadiyah Magelang and supported by Ministry of Research and Higher Education Indonesia. For today's seminar, we have three different keynote speakers coming from different countries as well. You can see how excited I am to welcome all of the speakers. So we are going to start our seminar. The topic taken for today is Smart Circular Economy for Global Sustainability, an overview and implication in Europe, Australia, and Asia. So before we start our agenda for today, we are going to sing national anthem of Indonesia, Indonesia Raya. So for all of us, please raise. Indonesia Raya. Okay, thank you so much. Now, before we start, I will introduce a little bit about this program. So this is called World Class Professor Unima 2020. And this program aims to several points. The first is increase the quality and competency of Unima lecturer to be able to compete globally. And also to increase the collaboration within university, especially with abroad university. As we can see, there are several universities several participants come from different countries for today's seminar. And also we aims to increase or enhancing the joint research and also the networking between researchers and also the scholars. Now, for today, agenda, there are participants come from researchers, students, and also lecturers. And I welcome also our Rector of Universitas Muhammadiyah Magelang, Dr. Suliswiyadi MAG. And Dr. Suliswiyadi MAG will deliver the opening speech for today. So, Pak Sulis, are you ready, Pak?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, so we welcome Professor Dr. Suliswiyadi MAG for the opening speech.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good afternoon for all. The Honorable Professor Kanan Govindan, PhD, Head of Center for Sustainable Supply Chain Engineering, University of Southern Denmark. Professor Michel Rosano, PhD, Director of the Sustainable Engineering Group, Curtin University, Australia. Yun Arifatul Fatimah, PhD, Dean of Engineering Faculty, Universitas Muhammadiyah Magelang, Indonesia. Thank you to the presenters who have joined in the seminar Series 1 World Class Professor Universitas Muhammadiyah Magelang 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Universitas Muhammadiyah Magelang. Thanks to Allah, still in COVID-19, this afternoon we can meet online in a discussion entitled Smart Circular Economy for Global Sustainability, an overview and implication in Europe, Australia, Asia. This topic is very interesting and is in line with one of the goals in the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, for the 8 goals, namely to promote sustainable and inclusive economic growth, full participant and in productive work, design work for all. In fact, a circular economy is a paradigm that is completely compatible with the goals of sustainable development. Linear economy or business as usual, if it is maintained, will bring huge losses to all stakeholders in Indonesia. Maybe in the short term, it will look like a profit, but in the end, it will be very costly. This is actually well known nationally. This year, Bappenas has issued a low carbon development initiative document, which warns that business as usual will only bring Indonesia to the current growth rate until the mid 2030s and then drop very drastically. Ladies and gentlemen, therefore, the discussion will be interesting because it will invite experts from Southern University, Denmark, Prof. Kanan, and Curtin University, Australia, Prof. Michel, to discuss the circular economy overview and its implication in Europe, Australia, and Asia. Furthermore, by reading Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, I declare this seminar open. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
We'll continue. Thank you so much, Dr. Suliswiyadi MAG, as our rector in Universitas Unima, Universitas Muhammadiyah Magelang, with the intense opening speech. Yes, indeed, it is very happy actually to be able to listen and also experience the different perspective within several countries here. So there will be speakers coming from Denmark and also from Australia and from Indonesia. Talking about circular economy, everyone, so this is the very emerging topic because the importance of circular economy in redefine the product and using the decrease the loss of the products so it can be used for several other purpose as well. So because I'm not the the one who speak also, and other I don't have any what is that? Different knowledge about this circular economy. It's better that everyone here will be listen for our beloved three speakers. So I will introduce the three speakers. Our first speakers coming from southern Denmark, in Denmark. So Mr. Professor Kannan Govindan, PhD. I believe he's with us right now, Professor Kannan. And then also our second speakers are coming from Curtin University. Professor Misal, I believe Professor Misal is also here. I can see it. And our beloved Ibu Yun also has already joined us. Before we start, I'm going to welcome the first speaker, Professor Dr. Kannan Govindan. And then before that, I'm going to read several CVs. It's quite very long CV, sir, so I can't read all of them. So Professor Kannan is a professor and head Center for Sustainable Supply Chain Engineering, Department of Technology and Innovation, University of Southern Denmark in Denmark. So there are focus areas of Professor Kannan, like circular economy, circular supply chains, Industry 4.0, sustainable manufacturing, smart manufacturing, green supply chain management and reserve logistics, and also digital supply chain. He has a very long professional career here, professor and center head of sustainable supply chain engineering. Before that, he was also professor and center of engineering operation management. He also visiting scholar in various universities globally. And then Professor Kannan is an author and co-author over 350 peer-review research. It's a very long list of the research. And also, he got the highly cited researchers in 2018 as the honor award and international collaboration. So Professor Kannan, you will have like 1 hour to deliver your presentation about circular economy, sir. And I'm going to remind you when the time is almost up.
Thank you very much for your nice introduction. I'm going to share my screen now. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can see it now.
Okay. Yeah. So today I'm going to give a small overview about what is meant by circular economy, and then how it could be transformed into a smart circular economy in terms of few cases or examples from Europe. So thanks for the nice introduction, and I have a joint affiliation with Center for Intelligent Supply Chain from Shanghai Maritime University. Another one is I'm heading the Center for Sustainable Supply Chain Engineering from STU. And little bit about my background is my master's is in industrial engineering, and then I did my PhD on modeling of forward and reverse supply chain, and so these are all some of my research career things. For today's presentation, let us start with what is meant by circular economy and how it could be transformed into a smart circular economy with the help of Industry 4.0 technologies. And we can also see some of the used cases and future research directions and so on. And before that, I would like to discuss about what is the current trend in terms of the circular economy and how it is going to be in the focus area, and what are the levels we need to achieve in terms of like the value chain aspects of the circular economy one. So when you look into the focus could be mainly based on the product and production development, or it could be a model-based production, or it could be a complexity management. And when we look into the levels, it could be based on the value chain or integrated production system. And then the last level is how to make use of this enabling technologies and so on. And what is going to be the new manufacturing paradigm? We need to go for more digital. It could be digital 5.0. Then smart manufacturing, new materials, man-machine integration, back sourcing, and local sourcing, and so on. So here, in this seminar, our focus will be on the first, the more digital, and then the sustainable manufacturing aspects. And when we talk about the current trends or the new manufacturing paradigm, we need to classify the paradigm into three aspects. One is what is going to be the customer or the market trends, and then what is going to be the manufacturing trend, and then what is going to be the upstream value chain partners. So let us start with the customer. They always look for not the normal product. Now their intention is moving from the normal product to the smart products. So they request for the smart products which combines hardware and software, and how to go into the transition of the traditional products into the smart products. We can make use of new digital business models which will be changing the classical value chain and the customer or the competitive landscape. Here, what happens is that the entire value chain needs to be agile and then innovative in order to achieve this transition from the traditional to the smart product. And then what is the global trend in the manufacturing? Like most of the low-cost countries are losing the low-cost competitive edge. And then at least in the Danish focus, like manufacturing jobs have stabilized and changed due to the automation and digitalization as a driving productivity aspects. And when we talk about the transition, we need to think about, okay, how we are going to make this transition from a traditional to the smart one with the help of product, service, and business models. The first one, what type of business models are really required? So here the business models could be a software functionality is expected as a product as a base one, and then the manufacturers trying to develop platforms providing additional service which is enabled by IoTs and so on. So this is where you can bring this smart circular economy that can happen at all the levels of the whole value chain. It could happen with respect to the lower end, which is we can classify the whole value chain into upstream and then the downstream. If you're going to focus on the smartness in the downstream, then we need to have a strong business model where we will be applying the smartness during the collection of the used products and so on. That happens after the customers use the products. Then the second one, in terms of like the business models or enabling the agility, could be looking into modularization of products, which enables the agility. Build the standard building blocks, and then which enables the mass customization and enables hardware to the software transition one. So that's where we can move towards the smart product. So let us look into the aspects of the circular economy. So let's see what are the main background behind the circular economy. It started with the linear economy with natural resources, and then you try to extract the resources, try to manufacture the product, and then after manufacturing the product, it goes to the customers. They try to use it and then dispose it. Then after disposal, it turns out to be the waste. So here in the linear economy, it could also be called as forward logistics, which happens from the suppliers or sub-suppliers until it reaches the customers, and then it turns out to be the waste one. So in sustainability term, it could also be called as cradle to grave. So we are not really moving into the cradle to cradle, which is nothing but the circular economy one. So in terms of like circular economy, we can really classify. So how to overcome the problems that arises due to the linear economy, the waste problem, waste management, all those things. So one of the solution is circular economy. How to make the circular economy, how the transition happens from the linear economy to the circular economy. So you can classify the circular economy into two major one. One is the biological materials and then the technical materials. So mainly we will focus on the technical materials part, where we use the concept of cradle to cradle. So we try to extract the materials, then try to make the product and then use it, then return it. When you return it, then we can also try to use some of the circular economy activities, which I'll be showing you in the next couple of slides, where the transition from the outer layer of the circular economy activities towards the inner circles. So how we can look into the circular economy as a life cycle perspective is that, okay, so we have the starting point of the circular economy starts with virgin materials. So you start with virgin materials for manufacturing the products. Once it is manufactured, it is moved to the users. And then when you move, when the users try to use the product, what they can do is like, it can also, after using the product, it goes to the recycling center to recover some of the materials, or otherwise some it goes to the reusing aspects, where some of the components collected for reused and then it moved back to the chain, where you can also replace some of the virgin materials with the reused components or recycled components. If nothing can happen with respect to the product, it directly goes to the landfill or energy recovery or something. Even some of the products after recovered to the recycling, it can also go to as a waste for the landfill or the energy recovery. So this is the main aspects of the circular economy. One is the biological one and the technical one. And we are more interested in moving towards the outer loop to the inner loop. So the outer loop starts with the waste, and then the recycle, refurbishment, remanufacturing, reuse, maintenance, and so on. Now one more level of the loop is added, one thing called as sharing economy. So we discussed how this sharing economy concept can be introduced into the industrial setup, and we can be really proud to say that we are the one introduced this industrial sharing economy for the manufacturing sectors. So that could be the topmost level. When you look into the circular economy maturity level, the least element, so nothing can be happened, or the zeroth maturity is going directly into the waste management or going into the waste, and then you can slowly go into the maturity of, okay, so we are mature enough to recycle the products, and then we are little bit mature enough to remanufacture it, we are little bit mature enough to reuse it, then maintenance, and then the last or the highest maturity level goes to the sharing economy part. So this is the main objective of the whole circular economy, moving from the outer loop to the inner loop. And then if nothing can be happened, then it goes to the energy recovery and then the landfill and so on. And then in terms of like the circular economy, we need to ask a few challenging questions, like what is produced and why it is produced, maybe due to the globalized cheap production challenges, or it could be due to the repair or upgrading of the products. And when and why do products become waste? So these are all the most important challenges. So if you want to really look into all these research, the questions, then we need to find a solution the solution could be based on some of the activities of the circular economy. And before going into the solutions for some of the questions mentioned earlier, so what type of resource flows and loops that are available? For example, you can you can have a transition from a linear flow to the circular economy flow. So here we are trying to minimize the resource use per product, which could be moving towards the recycling and so on. And the another aspects could be how to extend the useful life of the products. So what we can do is, like, even within the linear flow, we can also try to extend the life, which could be called as linear extension of the life extension of the linear flow, and then the life extension of the circular flow. And we have many different types of flows available in the academic literatures. And one of the classical book was written by Nancy Boken from Netherlands. They discussed a lot of different types of flows that are available for the circular economy from the academic perspective. And in terms of like how the circular economy is integrated into the sustainability trends, is that okay? So we have like three key trends are shaping the world through the business. One is the circular economy. Second one is, whenever we talk about circular economy, then what are the different types of sustainable development goals we will be achieving through the circular economy. And then the third aspect is the resource efficiency. So in terms of like circular economy, we can also provide little bit of benefits of the circular economy, which is nothing but decouple the value creation from resource consumption, and it has a potential of 1.8 trillion euros per year in Europe. And in terms of like sustainable development goals, we have 17 goals driving the sustainable development worldwide. And then if you look into the industries, everyone is looking into what are the different types of sustainable development goals they are trying to achieve in this with the help of their business models and so on. Then the third one is with respect to resource efficiency. Here we have a huge potential in the we have shown the wind turbine blades, because like in Denmark, like we are really leading country in terms of like the wind industry, and huge potential in the install base, and then the savings of money in environment and the risk and so on. And in terms of like the circular economy, the fastest growing business strategy areas in the Europe, and we are thinking about from the open loops to the closing the loops. And then, as I mentioned earlier, it generates huge revenue, like 1.8 trillion euros, then decoupling the value creation from resource consumption, but then which requires a systematic approach. So how to really utilize the concept of circular economy or implement the circular economy. And the second aspect is achieving the sustainable development goals, 17 goals. And then with respect to the resource efficiency, we can have a huge savings, both money and environment, and necessary measures in a growing population, and risk minimization could be one of the aspects here. And when we look into this sustainable development goals, what are the basic targets we need to achieve with respect to each of the sustainable development goals? And if you look into the ranking, like we ranked second in terms of the SDGs global ranking. And when we look into the whole technology trends, one way of viewing the technology from the sustainability viewpoint is like clean technology, green technology, system technology, and problem technology. So when we look into the I will try to explain you in detail in one of the other slides. In terms of like clean technology, it focuses on better solutions, but is the actual technology optimized for sustainability, or do we have to forgive its sins or something like that? So how to create a green, clean tech? So there are so many methods and tools available for making you the green, but companies have difficulties in prioritizing and choosing and using the green technology. But then here we need to focus on process rather than merely on the products and so on. And when we move on to the system technology, that's where we introduce the smart circular economy aspects, offers potential to provide products as service, decoupling value from the consumptions, then set to play an ever-increasing role in our modernization society by introducing the various Industry 4.0 technologies and so on. The last one is the problem technology, need to practice life cycle approach, need to be aware of rebound effects, and then need to take responsibility for the waste. And to end it, one aspect could be related to so what are the different responsibility we can look into here. It could be EPR, could be one of the solutions, and another solution could be the circular economy offer a very good solution for this waste management. And when we talk about the EPR, who is going to take care of the real responsibility, extended producer responsibility, so which is also an upcoming topic within the whole circular economy. Then how can we move, or how can we have the transition from a circular economy to the smart circular economy? So that could happen with the help of Industry 4.0. Here I'm going to show you a very small introduction about the Industry 4.0. So when we look into this, the technological background, it started with Industry 1.0, 2.0, 3, and 4. Let's see much more detail in the next slide. So it started like the first Industry 1.0 started at the end of 18th century, where we were introduced into mechanical and mechanical production machines powered by water and steam. Second one, with the introduction of mass production lines powered by electrical engineering, that happens in the beginning of like 20th century. Then Industry 3.0, beginning of 1970s, with the help of automation and so on. Now we are in the Industry 4.0, purely based on the cyber physical systems. And when we look into the technological aspects, so these are all the products that doesn't exist in 2006, iPhone, iPad, Kindle, and nothing. But then we need to be really look into this speed of development. So what is the speed of development of iPhone, iPad, Kindle, 4G, Uber, everything? This is quite amazing. Time to reach 100 million users worldwide. Telephone, it took almost 75 years from the launch of the year 1878. Mobile phone, 16 years. Web, 7 years. Facebook, 4 years. Apple App Store, 2 years. But Pokemon Go, within 25 days, it reached the 100 million customers. So how far we are really into this technological era. So this is a classical example of how everything is transformed into a smart aspects. So this is where the challenges also exist from what happens within internet minute. Like it keeps on growing from 2018-19. When you look into what happens within one internet minute or 60 seconds, the volume of data is growing. And then I have also compared with 2020. Still, we are not yet done with 2020, but still we have surpassed the data with respect to the 2019. So this is going to be the big challenging aspects. Even though we were saying that, we have a very good Industry 4.0 technologies, but then managing data-driven smart manufacturing or smart circular economy is going to be also a challenging task to address. And what are the different types of Industry 4.0 technologies you can use it? Depending upon the case you are going to deal with, you can choose any one of these Industry 4.0 technologies. So these are all some of the basic technologies which were identified by the Boston Consultancy Group. And we are also working on different types of technologies. And then even with our last year world-class professorship program, we did a really nice work with Dr. Yan with smart waste management. And we could also, we managed to publish a paper with respect to the maturity models and so on for the Indonesian smart waste management. I hope Professor Yan will be talking about that during her talk. And when we look into the real applications of Industry 4.0 with respect to different technologies, like for example, we can take the simulation. It could be an optimization based on real-time data from intelligent systems. So one of the way to use the simulation could be like with the help of simulation and digital tools. So the digital twins could be something, what is going to be my really a waste collection, how much I'm going to collect based on the intuition of the customer's perspective, and then with respect to how the manufacturer will react based on the collected products and how it could be optimized within the forward and reverse supply chain loops between the customers, then the manufacturers, and so on. So some of the Industry 4.0 technologies, we are also trying to come up with the state-of-the-art link between supply chain and Industry 4.0. Already we made really a nice academic article, and it's going to be available soon. How to map this supply chain aspects and sustainable supply chain aspects with respect to the Industry 4.0 technologies, and what are the challenges that exist, and what are the different types of benefits you can achieve with the help of Industry 4.0 technologies in your whole supply chains. And when we talk about the Industry 4.0, the four main benefits we could achieve is increased productivity, increased flexibility, and quality in terms of like with the help of sensors and actuators, we can really monitor the current production in the real time and quickly intervene some of the errors which could be talked as quality management 4.0. Then the last one is we can really increase the speed from the first product, from the factory idea to the finished products and so on. In addition to this, Industry 4.0 will also bring a lot of other benefits in terms of like environmental sustainability or social sustainability. We can improve the safety, working conditions, then training and collaborations, environmental protection, and innovation capability. So this is how we can link this Industry 4.0, or it could be also called as smart manufacturing in the US. This could bring us multiple benefits, not only in economical aspects, but also in terms of environmental and social aspects. And when we look into the Industry 4.0, what could be the value drivers and what are the levers for achieving this? So let us focus more on the circular economy aspects. Here, one small example of how this Internet of Things could be applied in a smart factory system with respect to applied in an automated inspection, and then it could also be used in the tracking of the products in the material handling system and logistic systems and so on. And when we look into how this technology could be used in terms of like logistics and supply chains, we can really look into the technology as low impact technologies and then high impact one, and with respect to mature trends and then the emerging trends. So some of the technologies which are there in the emerging trends could also lead to a high impact with respect to the logistics and supply chain management field. And when we look into what is the potential value of bringing this Industry 4.0, so we found based on the survey, it was found that the digital transformation is giving European industry the chance to add 250 billion euros of extra values per month. And in which industry it could be added? The first wave could be automotive and logistics industry. The second wave could be from mechanical and plant engineering, electrical engineering, medical technology. So if you want to really implement Industry 4.0 or digitalization into your industries, you need to know the current trend or current level of digitalization, and then how much you can digital. So this slide will show you what is the current trends and what is the digital gap available for each of your different types of industries. And then when we look into the logistics field, how the different types of digitalization could be used within the field of logistics one. And what are the various research opportunities that could happen is that, okay, we wrote a really classical paper about marrying two popular notions, sustainability and Industry 4.0. So which is under the final review. So here we try to map these two aspects. One is Industry 4.0 linked to sustainable manufacturing, circular economy, and life cycle assessment. And when we look into the three major aspects, here we can say that the first one is with Industry 4.0 and sustainable manufacturing. We classified the whole domain of sustainable manufacturing into various subdomains. One is what type of Industry 4.0 technologies have an impact on this environmental impacts, then what happens with the personal health. So when we try to use this Industry 4.0 technologies, this diminishes the hazardous pollutants, gas emissions, which could harm the personal health and so on. This is only a very small summary of what we have found in the literature. And then when we look into this operational safety aspects also, the real-time monitoring data are generated and exchanged to secure the operational safety and to control seamlessly the current systems and equipment conditions. So which could also be called as a smart maintenance system. And then when we look into the manufacturing cost, which gives into the economical aspects. So here we classified the whole domain into so few things with the environmental, few things with the social, and few of technologies that could be integrated into different types of circular economy activities. For example, if you look into the refurbishment or remanufacturing, here you can also use the simulation for optimal energy efficient routes and real-time data for inputs and outputs regarding the shipping energy consumption and gas emissions to calculate the environmental impacts. And in terms of like maintenance, real-time data for inputs and outputs, and then for in terms of like data for gas emissions, energy consumption, solid waste, and reduction of resource extractions and so on. Then the last one aspect is about the life cycle assessment. Why? Because like always the circular economy needs to be considered in a whole life cycle assessment perspective or life cycle perspective. That's why we started with, okay, so you need to consider the entire the value chain starting from the suppliers until it reaches the waste stream or the disposal stream and so on. So here we classified the whole life cycle assessment into 5 main dimensions, into the disposal phase, resource phase, use, transportation, and manufacturing phase. So this is how we can try to convert this the life cycle assessment into a life cycle assessment 4.0 with introducing the different technologies. Some of the projects we were working on is like, so one of the European projects is about circularity projects for the SMEs, EU SMEs. One here we try to introduced the circular economy aspects in different types of industries like buildings, car engines, automobile, and the famous industrial symbiosis with the Colombo plant. Then platform economy in terms of like Uber, and sharing economy in terms of like Zipcar, product life cycle extension with the Fair phone, and then the performance efficiency with respect to the washing machine leasing and so on. And so this is the ongoing projects where we were involved under the Manufacturing Academy of Denmark. And then very recently, we also obtained a few projects in terms of like made fast within the sustainable supply chain and circular economy aspects. And then we also received the national funding for decommissioning of wind turbine blades, which is really a complex one in terms of like because of the composites used in the blades. So we are going to provide some kind of state-of-the-art recycling technologies for this decomposition of wind turbine blades. And some of the aspects, circular economy, building blocks, and then different types of technologies, how it could enable the circular economy into a smart circular economy one. So this is based on one of our European projects, so which is about to finish like in beginning of next year, something like that. Then we also looked into some of the circular business models pilot projects with some of our Danish industries like resource recovery business models to enable the information storage and retrieval of regarding the in-use component tracking and later reuse with water pumps. So this is the pilot for circular circulation pumps, understanding the incentives and means for take back, enhanced focus in the IoTs and big data, design for circularity and remanufacturing amplification. And then we are also proposing circular economy aspects for offshore wind industry, where so we classify the whole circular economy aspects into value chain partners, what will be the circular business models, and how it could be used with the help of different circular economy activities. So here we also made some small examples of, okay, what are the different types of circular economy loops. So in terms of recycling, you can go for open loop recycling and closed loop recycling with respect to the metals and the recovery of coppers in the wind turbines, and refurbishment of remanufacturing that could be wind turbines and spare parts in preparation for resale to other wind energy markets, reuse in terms of like repurposing and repowering, maintenance, which is one of the hot topic within the wind turbine sector, used for planned repairs and upgrades for initially expected lifetime of the offshore wind farms, which is designed. And then we also did a few more smart, in terms of like circular economy. Here we classified this in closed loop supply chain aspects, how we have converted this risk element involved in the closed loop as a benefit with the help of Industry 4.0 technology. So this is the whole, it could be hard to read. So this is the transition that happens between the risk to the benefits with the help of different types of technologies. And this is also one of our outcome of an academic article, so which is under a revision stage or something like that. We got revision and we will be able to submit the revision soon. And some of the other aspects we looked into the circular economy is like circular procurement or sustainable procurement practices linked with different types of technologies, and how it helps us to achieve the sustainable development goals. Also, we are working on a project called as SDG tools, sustainable development tools, how to achieve the sustainable development goals with the help of circular economy practices, with the digitalized circular economy practices. That's the current project we are running in terms of like the smart circular economy. And then we have also collaborated with UMM for a Danida projects, which is also in the same area of smart waste management. And we are waiting for the results and so on. So this is a small overview of smart circular economy with little introduction and perspective in terms of European aspects. So thanks for your attention, and I'm open for any queries or questions.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, let's clap hands for Professor Kenan Govindan for the very impressive presentation. I've got like quite a lot of handwriting and also the comment from several participants and also questions. And then before we coming to the question and answers, Professor Kenan, so for all the participants, please, if you have another questions, a part of the questions I got here, you can either write it in the chat session or you can raise your hand in Zoom. So Professor Kenan Govindan talked about the business model of innovation regards to software, functionality, and manufacturers. Also, he talked about linear economy and the difference between the circular economy as well, how circular economy may minimize research use per product and extending the useful life of the product. And also, Professor Kenan talked about 3 aspects that emerging nowadays: circular economy and SDGs, and also resource efficiency. So Professor Kenan, I've got several questions coming up here, and then I will ask you first, and while waiting for another question also coming up, because this is very interesting topic. The first question is coming from our colleagues in Universitas Muhammadiyah Magelang, sir. This is asking about what is the difference between sharing economy and also circular economy.
So,
do you want to answer per questions, or should I give you several questions and you can answer it once? Which one do you prefer?
You can give me several questions and then I can go one by one.
Oh, okay. Yes, that's the first questions. And also there's another questions here asking about the developed technology in Europe. So you were talking about how the technology in Europe helping the circular economy there. And then he asked about the less developed country. Can it be implied here in Indonesia, or do you have any suggestion about that issue? And then this is coming from our colleagues as well, sir, but in different universities, asking about your presentation. You mentioned about marrying sustainable and Internet 4.0 as the future research. Can you please explain it more briefly? So for meantime, there are 3 questions like that.
Okay, just I'm noting down your all the questions. Let me start with one by one. About the sharing economy and circular economy one. So when you look into this circular economy activities, we start with the waste, and then the next level could be recycling. Then the next level is remanufacturing, and then we go down to maintenance. Then the last one is the sharing economy. So which I would consider this as the advanced level of the circular economy. Circular economy is nothing but you need to save the environment. So if you're going to share the resources instead of buying new resources and then converting it into the waste, and this sharing economy is booming like anything now in terms of among the manufacturing industries also. For example, if you have a machine and the utilization of the machine is only 20% within your company, and what happens with the resources? Like you are not utilizing your resources. At some point, you will really convert this resources into a waste without really utilizing the whole resources. At the same time, if another company needs the similar type of machines, and if each one is trying to buy the machine with respect to a very small utilization, then you are really wasting the resources. So how can we overcome this problem? Instead of going for different types of purchase of the same machines, you can try to share the machines. A very good classical example is like, if you don't need a washing machine to wash your clothes, you need only once in a month or something like that. Why do you need to buy it? Just go and use the shared washing machine shops available to wash your clothes or something. Very similar aspects, but then within the we are looking into this industrial sharing economy with respect to the manufacturing sectors. So I would consider this sharing economy as a really advanced level of circular economy practices, or maybe the activities. Then the second one is what are the key developed technologies in Europe? Like even within the Europe, with respect to the sustainability or the circular economy, so we are also trying to utilize different types of Industry 4.0. So for example, data-driven optimization, we try to use digital twins, and we try to use Internet of Things, Internet of Surveys, and now we started utilizing the blockchain aspects also. And in terms of like less developed countries in how can we make use of these technologies? So even with respect to the less developed countries, there is the huge scope for using this smart systems within different industries or within the different domains. And one classical example is so what type of national policies you are trying to adapt? For example, like in terms of like Indonesian circular economy policies that promotes the smart circular economy aspects from with the help of different types of funding from different World Bank. They are providing fundings, and then in terms of like Europe, we have a Danida funding, which could also support some kind of maturity level within the Indonesian sectors and so on. So there are quite good opportunities to implement these smart technologies, at least within the field of waste management for the Indonesian context and so on. Then the last one about marrying sustainability and the Industry 4.0. For example, we would like to bring the two aspects. We can achieve the sustainability or sustainable performances without Industry 4.0, but what we call it as marrying Industry 4.0 with sustainability is like Industry 4.0 will be taken as a drivers to achieve the sustainability performance in a much more faster way, or much more in an enhanced way. So that's what I mean, that Industry 4.0 technologies will help you to achieve the sustainable performance. It could be an economic, environmental, or social performances in a much more faster rate or something like that. So these are all some of the aspects which we dealt in this the paper about marrying sustainability and Industry 4.0.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Kenan. Sorry, my suaranya masuk. Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Kenan, for the very brief answer. So there are quite another questions here coming up. I hope you still have time to answer it, sir.
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Okay, there's a question from Ibu Murni, our colleague in Universitas Muhammadiyah Magelang, asking about the circular economy and the linear economy that you mentioned before, sir. So you said that the linear economy is just like it's like open, like closed loop or circular economy, like that.
Okay.
She asked, can you please explain more about the linear economy and then circular economy? And then sorry, maybe this is the last question for participants because the questions keep popping up, sir, and then we have like limited time. Asking about the industrial symbiosis that you mentioned before, can you explain about the symbiosis, which aspect and which partner can be implemented inside the industrial symbiosis like that?
Okay, let me go with linear economy and circular economy first. Let's take a classical example of your mobile phone. So you have money to buy some mobile phone. Let's take an example of Apple iPhone. So maybe you started using the iPhone with iPhone 5, 6, and then whenever the new model is introduced, you have enough money to buy the next model. That means you are not really effectively using your resources fully. So when we look into the use of the product, we can classify the use of the products into two different aspects. One is end of use product, end of life product. So there is a difference between the end of use product and the end of life product. So end of life, there is no way that you can use that product again or something like that. So that's the life is over. Maybe you need to do some of the repair work to extend the life, or maybe you can also recycle it or something like that. So when you buy the things and then throw it as a waste, that's the linear economy. You are not really looking into reusability of that phone, or recyclability of the phone, or remanufacturability of the phone. So you are not really considering to bring the product into the closed loop by recycling or remanufacturing or reusing it. Simply you throw that product as a waste, which goes in the linear fashion. For example, if you try to use you have the phone like iPhone 7 or something like that. Now you want to move to iPhone, the next model, X or 11. Then what you can do is you can try to exchange the phone, your old phone with the new phone model, so that the old phone will be enter into the closed loops to recover the product, or otherwise they will refurbish the phone and then they will sell it, they will use it, they will reuse the phone as a refurbished phone or something like that. So this is the difference between the linear economy and the circular economy one. And in terms of like symbiosis, industrial symbiosis, so you can create an industrial symbiosis, the network or the one where the waste of one industry is given as a input or the raw material for the another industry. So if you can create an environment or a park where you can cluster few different types of industries together, and then you can also try to make use of the waste of one industry as a raw material for the or input for the other industries, then you can really come up with the industrial park or the industrial symbiosis one. And one very famous example of industrial symbiosis is from the Denmark. Like we have a really old history, which is Kalundborg Park, industrial symbiosis park.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Kennard, for the answer. And then also thank you very much for the participants for quite a lot of questions here. And then before we continue to the next part of the agenda for today, please remember for all participants, there will be link for e-certificate shared after the second speakers, and also there will be a reminder also in the last part of this seminar. And this seminar is a series, so there will be another series after this, and then we will confirm and inform you later in the end of this seminar. Thank you so much, Professor Kannan Govindan, for your participation, and we hope you still stay with us because there will be another presentation from Professor Michel. I think Professor Michel is here. And then hope to meet you in another time. And thank you so much, Professor Kannan.
Yeah, no problem.
Maybe for
You are
all
welcome.
participants, a big hand applause for Professor Kannan Govindan, ME PhD.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Next, we jump. Yes, sir. And the next we jump to another presentation from Professor Michel, but I have a request from Ibu Yun that to call you Professor John. Are you with us? Hi, how are you?
Okay, before very much.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Before we start your presentation, I will read several CVs, and then it is a very impressive one. So, Professor Michel, Director of a globally recognized leader in sustainable engineering teaching and research with an international background in business development, research economics, and research leadership and academic teaching. Professor Michel, also a director of Sustainable Engineering Group, or SEG, yes, at Curtin Universities. SEG has become a globally recognized for its research in industry-based sustainable solution. Professor Michel has attended over 20 international invited keynote speakers. Oh my God, it's so impressive, ma'am. And yeah, quite like reading this is like just remind me how impressive all the speakers for today. You got your PhD in University of Western Australia, Magister in Curtin University, and also Bachelor in University of Western Australia. So Professor John or Professor Michel? Okay. Yes, you have 1 hour to deliver your speech, and I will remind you if the time is almost up. So the time is yours, Prof.
Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum. I would like to say my sincerest thank you, terima kasih, to Professor Sulis Wiyadi and Dr. Yun Fatima for the wonderful invitation to present to the Smart Circular Economy for Sustainability today. It's marvelous to be part of your program for world professors presenting their thoughts on important topics to the engineering school. I'm very, very happy to be part of the World Class Professor 2020 UNIMA program, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity. I'm very pleased to be following the wonderful introduction of Professor Govindan from Denmark on the topic of circular economy, because Denmark and Australia have a very important synergy in relation to circular economy, because Kalundborg was the world's first industrial symbiosis program, which Professor Govindan spoke about, where large companies in industrial parks, eco-industrial parks, come together to share their waste products and to improve their resource efficiency. But we also, following the example of Denmark's Kalundborg Industrial Symbiosis Program, as Dr. Yun Fatima knows very well, here in Western Australia, we have the world's largest industrial symbiosis program at Kwinana. And there we had some 50 companies involved in a circular economy program that started about 15 years ago. So I very much enjoyed the presentation by Professor Govindan, and I would like to now add to his presentation, I hope, with some discussion on the role of the digital economy as well as the circular economy in the development of sustainability outcomes here in Australia. So I'll now pass over to putting my slides up. Thank you. There we are. I just will quickly just give a bit of feel for our university and the research that we do in the Sustainable Engineering Group. We are an industrial ecology research group, so we are focused on the interface between industry and the environmental impacts that we make. We have been involved in this research for some 15 years. We also have teaching programs in sustainability management. On this page there, I've included at the bottom a web link to a recent podcast that we did at the university, that my group did at the university together with my colleague, Professor Wahidul Biswas, on the future of sustainable engineering, if anyone's interested in following. In addition, I've included my webpage to give you some understanding of the industrial ecology research and some of the circular economy research that we do, including many of the ideas and elements that Professor Govindan talked about, because we've looked at 3D manufacturing, additive manufacturing, we're looking at blockchain technology, we're certainly spending a lot of time working on renewable energy. And we also have spent a lot of time on circular economy application of recovered industrial byproducts in civil and construction engineering applications, as well as continuing to update our work in industrial symbiosis. And we've also done a very significant amount of life cycle assessment and sustainability assessment on a variety of products and services over the past 15 years. Many of those papers and many of those research programs are discussed and presented on our webpage, which is at the link at the top there, if anyone is interested. So why is circular economy and the digital economy important for Australia? Well, Australia's rather famous, or I should say infamous, for the high levels of greenhouse gases that we emit per capita of population, because we have a very large agricultural base. And it's that per capita greenhouse gas emissions that really places some responsibility on Australia to improve its energy and greenhouse gas sequestration opportunities. But we have a number of sustainability challenges. Climate change is one of them, and that climate change could have a very significant impact on our agricultural production, which forms about 30% of our overall GDP and exports. As a result of that, Australia is already a very dry continent, and with climate change, we're likely to become drier. Therefore, water scarcity issues are going to become very important. Australia has a very unique and very important biodiversity value, and that conservation of biodiversity is hugely important in both a drying climate as well as a climate that has seen very, very significant removal of our native vegetation, the bush that we have. And in Western Australia, agricultural production has removed something like 80 to 90% of the natural vegetation in the southwest of the state. And that's a bit like removing 80 to 90% of the rainforest that perhaps you have in Indonesia or Sumatra, to give you some idea of the very significant impact we've had on the Australian landscape as a result of our industrial production and consumption. In addition, another sustainability challenge for Australia is in the creation of jobs, because Australia has been a fairly capital-intensive agricultural and mining resource economy for the last 50, 60 years in particular. And those industries don't tend to develop many jobs for a lot of the graduates that are coming through the universities and the young people that are in their 20s now wanting to get into meaningful work for the future. So the Australian government's starting to worry about that element of the economy much more. And we are a great exporter as well as user of coal. Most of our power in Australia is fossil fuel produced, coal produced, and we only have about 21% of the economy actually using renewable energy power production, which 7% is solar, 7% wind, and about 5% is hydro, and the rest is a small element of other options. But for an economy and a country that has so much daylight hours of sunlight effectively throughout the year, we should have really led the world's entry into the renewable energy space with solar photovoltaics. So we're doing a bit of catch up in that front at the moment. So whilst Australia is a very young economy, and it's been an economy that has had many, many years, in fact, probably 3 decades of very good economic growth, we do face some very significant sustainability challenges, just like the rest of the world does. And as a result, the ideas of circular economy and the digital economy transforming our economy to enhance its sustainability performance is key to us also. So today what I'd like to introduce you to is a few of the examples of the digital transformation, the digital economy benefits, and the circular economy benefits as they relate to the Australian economy. The digital economy is something that's well and truly with us. It's an important one for us to accept as being, as an important part of the modern economy, really, our banking, our internet buying of selling of goods. As we know, as an academic at the moment during COVID times, many of our students wouldn't have been able to access their education if not for the fact that we had the internet to deliver that model of education to them. And for all of us, our lifestyles are increasingly predicated on entertainment use on the internet and our ability to communicate with our friends and families on mobile devices. So this potential ICT, this information communication technologies that we now have, is a very, very important part of not just making our lives easier and perhaps more enjoyable and more efficient, but very importantly, these technologies are going to be a very important part of the 21st century's ability to deliver economies that have much less footprint. So whilst these technologies are changing the way we live, they're also going to be a very important way for us to reduce our footprint. And there is an organisation called the Global E-Sustainability Initiative, which produced a report called the Smarter 2030 ICT Solutions for the 21st Century report. And in that report, it suggests that ICT technologies can actually reduce global carbon emissions by a fifth, by 20% by 2030. So the digital economy really could provide us with an enormous opportunity to reduce the carbon impact that we're having on the planet at the moment. Specifically, the Smarter 2030 modelling suggests that in Australia, e-commerce can save about 250 million litres of transport fuel just from avoided shopping trips. That e-work can free up about $11 billion in Australian dollars in capital expenditure through the need for reduced time in the office. I hope that you're able to see that slide clearly. I'm using 2 screens at the moment, and I can see one screen has an overlap, but I hope that's clear on your screen. Australia also has an ageing population, which is an important sustainability challenge for us, and therefore e-health, electronic health, could support 7 million people per year to engage with their health practitioners remotely, or at least from the convenience of their home, in real time and on demand, to save our population who may be a little bit more frail, having to make their way on buses or public transport or long distances to reach their health practitioners. And very importantly, we have a new generation of smart energy and renewable energy grid solutions that are going to help the deployment of over 13,000 kilometres of grid infrastructure that will save us putting in large amounts of poles and wiring, and we will have new energy systems that perhaps are a little bit more decentralised and able to use much more renewable energy focus. And obviously, at the moment in Australia, there's a very large amount of excitement around the potential for the hydrogen economy to really open up much more access to renewable energy storage. This report, the Smarter 2030 modelling, also suggested that Australia could reduce its greenhouse gas emissions by 27% by 2030. Now, that's an enormous contribution because Australia committed to reduce our overall greenhouse gas emissions by about 26 to 28% by 2030 from a 2005 baseline at the COP21 meeting. So if we did nothing else and just picked up on all the opportunities that we have in the digital economy, then the chances are Australia could make a really significant contribution to reducing its greenhouse gas emissions. Some of the potential opportunities we have for the digital economy include artificial intelligence and automation, the big data management, and Professor Govindan looked at this. Geospatial information is very important in Australian economy with the amount of mining that we do. Asset tagging, cybersecurity, obviously the Internet of Things. The e-commerce and Amazon and eBay have changed the way we have purchased our lives and do our shopping. Blockchain has provided a lot of new cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum. We've also got a much more connected world. Here we are during COVID, and yet we're able to have a virtual conference on the internet and through Zoom, which is a very powerful use of our digital technology. And also a really important way to reduce the footprint that would normally be associated with the important meetings that we have at conferences to discuss our research. So this digital technology affords us a new opportunity as academics to reduce our footprint also. And then lastly on that list is the application of the digital technology to platforms like Uber in transport and Airbnb in accommodation. Also, there's this digital enablement of circular cities, and this particular graph, which was produced by the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, looks at the potential for lowering the footprint of how we live in our cities with circular economy principles in a digital economy format. And you can see that the digital enablement, just from the examples that are given there, help us to reduce our water usage. It helps us to track the assets and their maintenance requirements in the built form environment. We've got the ability to potentially reduce our emissions, trace our health. We've got the ability also to trace our energy use to become a lot more sustainability focused in that regard. We've got the potential to use a lot more recovered materials by following our tracking of our waste products and how we can reuse them in a variety of the infrastructure decisions, projects that we take on. Energy saving lights in our city environment. Traffic is a very important one for us to manage, and all cities are now trying to look at ride sharing and carpooling and our ability to see less traffic on the road, or at least more people in the traffic that's being used. Domestic energy use. And lastly, and very importantly, waste. Our ability to start looking at waste as not a waste product, but as a potential wasted opportunity to recover the material that is going to be wasted. And that's a very important principle within our understanding of circular economy. The need for circular economy accepting that there should be no waste. It should be a circular production. We use resources, we produce a product, we consume the product, we produce a waste, and that waste should go back in as an input, as a material, back as a raw material into the starting of the production of the next line of products or services needed. Whereas at the moment, as Professor Govindan explained to us, the linear economy says that we use, we produce, we consume, and then there's waste, as if waste was a productive output from our production and consumption activities. Clearly, it is not. It's a wasted opportunity. And unfortunately, particularly for the amount of organic waste materials that we produce with wasted food, those materials produce a lot of greenhouse gases, particularly methane, which is the highest impact greenhouse gas we produce. So having a more circular approach to our cities and our waste management could afford us the opportunity of reducing the very negative impact that our waste has on our current environment. So from a world economy perspective, the World Economic Forum estimated that about or over $1 trillion per year could be saved by 2025 if we adopted the circular economy approaches to waste reuse. So that's about eliminating our waste production, using that waste production again as a resource, and helping the circularity of that resource use so that we end up with zero waste. And that zero waste is going to go a long way to help achieve our sustainability goals. And I think this next paragraph, which was in this report, highlights just how poorly engineered our current system is in relation to plastics. Because this WF report said that 95% of plastic packaging material, which has a value of between 80 and 120 billion dollars, is annually lost to the economy, wasted after its first use. It goes straight to landfill, unfortunately finding its way into the ocean. So more than 40 years after the launch of the recycling symbol, only 14% of plastic packaging is globally collected for recycling. And an alarming 72% of plastic packaging is not recovered at all. Doesn't go to landfill, it's just lying in the environment, lying in the oceans. 40% is landfilled and 32% goes outside of the collection system. And therefore it's that risk that then finds that plastic in our waterways and unfortunately then in our food systems. So from an Australian perspective, the potential for circular economy picking up on the recycling of our waste and this circular production model would see waste management services valued at about $12.6 billion per annum being developed. We would see about $2.9 billion in recovered material sales and value. We'd see waste-related activities of about $7 billion being added to the economy. So that's growth for the economy and jobs for the economy. It suggests that for every 10,000 tonnes of waste recycled, at least 10 jobs will be created. Now, in an economy like Australia, where employment is important, these are key opportunities to increase our sustainability performance and improve the ability to provide jobs for our community. Waste is currently responsible for approximately 2% of Australia's greenhouse gas emissions, and that's 2% that we don't need. In addition, and this is just a huge indictment on our lives in Australia, that the average Australian household wastes between $2,200 to $3,800 per year just on food waste that goes into our bins that local government then try to manage. That's an enormous amount of money to be wasting on food waste, putting it in a bin. So the circular economy principles show us just not only how wasteful we are and the negative impacts we're having on the economy, but the wasted opportunities we face in relation to our current production and consumption activity. Not quite sure. There we are. I'll go back again. Covers it a bit easier. There we are. Sorry, apologies. So the circular economy is really about the triple bottom line. It's about the economics and the social and the environmental elements of our production and consumption decisions. Alternatively, you can refer to it as the 3 E's. It's about managing our ecological, equity, being social, and economic considerations in relation to the environment. And circular economy and sustainability suggests that we need to understand from the moment we take the resource right through to the cradle-to-cradle response we have for its end of life, its waste management. And so life cycle assessment becomes a very fundamental and very important technology and assessment model for us to actually gauge how sustainable we are in what we're producing and the waste we're producing and what we can do with them. This chart, if I can get it up clearly for you. There you are. Begins to show us in a report that was done by KPMG Australia this year. It focused on some of the potential circular economy benefits that Australia could benefit from, both in terms of improvements to our GDP, as well as improvements to job creation and employment. And some of the simple ones that they looked at in the food, transport, and built environment areas are on this slide. So it's about nutrient recovery and recycling, and that's a very important way to use the organic waste that we produce from our food, and how we might produce potentially fertilizers from it to then add back to our agricultural production. It's about making sure that if we're going to produce this organic waste, that we can siphon off the methane to produce biogas to then power some energy, rather than just allowing this methane to escape to the environment. Very importantly, in our drying climate in Australia with climate change pressures, we will need to increasingly become much more water use efficient. So the improvement of our water use efficiency is not just about reducing our consumption of water, but improving the efficiency of the water that we use and decreasing the wastewaters that we produce. So you can see the full circular economy picture. From a transport perspective, the electrification of our transport sector, Australians spend a lot of time in their cars. It's a very large country, and there is often very big distances traveled every day by people to get to their workplaces. I personally spend 40 minutes in the car coming to the office and then 40 minutes going home minimum. So, and I'm filling my car every week with petrol. So the electrification of our car systems, moving to electric vehicles, maybe moving to hydrogen vehicles in the future, seeing a lot more carpooling and car sharing, they are important circular economy principles which we need to practice in order to reduce the large footprint that transport has on Australia's carbon footprint. And a couple of the examples that are noted there for the built environment include our ability to need to look for higher density housing, so optimizing the space we've got so that we're not all spread out like we currently are, with miles between our shops, our homes and our workplaces. And the need to have more solar passive design in what we build and much more energy efficient. So you'll see, I think something like 1 in 4 West Australian homes has a solar PV system on their roof where they're able to contribute to their own electricity production. This chart shows you a few more of the benefits that are associated with the circular economy, and it just gives some of the examples further to what I've just discussed, if you'd like to look into it a little bit more. Okay, so what are these additional benefits from the, beg your pardon, see if we can get back, have it all on one slide. Unfortunately, there's a little bit of lag sometimes between the loading, which is why we're getting these two double screens. Nonetheless, I can still speak to it for you. Some of the additional benefits we have from digital and circular economy principles and technologies. Obviously, the focus on low carbon is going to be important globally. The circular economy and digital economy will also help many countries like Australia to achieve our climate goals through the reduction in emissions and hopefully increasing our resilience during the climate change pressures during a world that will be increasingly competing for resources. When I look at the digital technology world and the focus on some of the rare earths and the lithiums and the cobalts that are involved in those technologies, very few countries in the world have access to those to those resources. Those resources tend to be currently mined and available in only a select number of economies, which puts a very significant pressure on the rest of the world accessing them. So our need to start looking at circular economy principles when we use these rare earths and rare metals in our digital technologies, we're going to have to work out very effective ways of reclaiming them or recovering them at the end of life point. Because if you're not mining those important elements in the digital technology frame, you're going to have to keep buying them, and increasingly their price will go up The amounts available in a growing population will decline, and we're going to have to be much more clever about how we access them and how we recover them. So we've just seen the examples from an Australian perspective where we need to reduce our energy, and that's heavily focused in our electricity production and our transport sector. We also need to look at jobs. We've got this aging population, and we've also got an increasing understanding in this changing world that the benefits of information, the benefits of our communication in research, in our issue and understanding of sustainability management is going to be increasingly important. And so it's virtual events like this and sharing of research outcomes through these new technologies that is also going to have a very profound effect on the world's ability to save itself into the 21st century and to follow the Brundtland definition of sustainability and ensuring that we have a secure and happy and resource-bound world for future generations, for everybody's grandchildren. Not that we all just have a wonderful time here in 2020, but that in 2120, the world has the same level of health, water access and resources access that we are currently enjoying. Australia's greenhouse gas emissions, as I've just mentioned, are dependent heavily on our fossil fuel coal-fired power production and our transport sector. Australia is a very large country. Many of our production activities for food are on the east coast of Australia, which is about a 3.5-hour flight, 4-hour flight returning between Perth and Sydney. But if you want to export things via truck and via our highways from Sydney to Perth, that's about a 3-day, 4-day journey in a truck. So that's an awful lot of transport fuels that we are using to transport our food products across the country. So digital technology's role in our emission reduction is very significant, and the Smarter 2030 report highlighted some of that potential. It felt that digital technologies will start to offer us the opportunity of reducing our global carbon footprint, global emissions by 20% by 2030, and that we can save 12 billion tonnes of carbon in moving towards the use of digital technologies in the circular economy in particular. And from an Australian perspective, that potential is really significant. 188 million tonnes of carbon emission reduction by 2030 and the saving of 250 million litres of transport fuel. In a world where we know that peak oil is probably around the corner, that sort of movement to that technology is going to be a saving grace for a country that has spent a lot of investment in the development of fossil fuel powered transport sector. The slide on the right shows us the potential for a number of different digital technology applications and their potential for carbon abatement up to 2030. And you can see the importance of agriculture, in particular, manufacturing, the smart grid, and our transport options. So it was wonderful to find this particular assessment in this report to present to you today, because it shows that we are starting to take very seriously the important role of circular economy in sustainability management in the Australian economy. The value from the digital economy also has not a carbon value for us, but it also has an efficiency value. Businesses will save time and money, which are very important outcomes. E-commerce in Australia is going to provide a huge new opportunity for organisations to share research and to engage in the market economy and sharing of resources. There will be very significant benefits for the consumers. Reports like the one suggested here by Deloitte has said that there's about $9.5 billion in potential benefits for consumers using the digital economy. And I must admit, during COVID, if I hadn't, as an academic, the opportunity to utilise Zoom and Microsoft Teams to communicate with not just my students, but with fellow researchers and with industry who I might be working with on research grants, we would really have had a very significant slowdown in the economy, certainly in our academic life. So the benefits for the digital economy for to me as an academic, have really potentially been proven to be very, very significant in 2020. COVID is an issue that we're all still learning to cope with. It's changed our business model, and it might well be that COVID turns out to be a blessing for sustainability outcomes in the way we manage our economies, because it's starting to get us to focus much more on the digital economy and the benefits that the digital economy can bring to circular economy principles. The next couple of slides, I just want to introduce you to some of the programs that the Australian government has in digital technology and circular economy, to give you an understanding of the sorts of things that we're beginning to think about. For example, this year, May 2020, we had in Australia our inaugural national meeting on the digital economy and the role of technology in moving us forward. In addition, we've got a lot more state governments starting to focus on digital technology, particularly around supply chain and procurement. We've got the importance of artificial intelligence being raised, and that's going to help also our manufacturing sector and our security sectors. And it's certainly given COVID-19 an opportunity for Australia to begin to recognise that we need to have digital technology to connect us more fully. Australia's federal largest industrial research organisation, CSIRO, produced a report called Data 61, and they started to look at the role of artificial intelligence technology and develop a roadmap for helping us to solve many of the sustainability problems that we currently face in Australia. In addition, the Australian government has developed a national blockchain roadmap towards looking at the value of blockchain in helping to improve the sustainability performance of our supply chains in Australia. And very, very importantly, we have a national framework for waste management developed in 2018, which has been developed along circular economy principles, which is largely in response to the fact that once upon a time, Australia tended to export a lot of its e-waste in particular, and difficult to process waste, to China and to other countries, because we didn't have the normal processing facilities and manufacturing facilities available here to handle the large volumes that we produce. And this particular new waste management strategy is about us waking up to the fact that we shouldn't be exporting our waste to other countries, that we should be focusing on circular economy and the reuse of the waste that we are producing. So that new waste management framework is a very, very important contribution to Australia's circular economy outcomes. Here are a couple of examples of the sorts of initiatives that Australia have been focusing on in relation to the various states' approach to circular economy. For example, the City of Melbourne in Victoria has a recycling facility, and that's starting to convert a lot of materials that would once upon a time have made their way to landfill. It's being now diverted as a resource. The government of South Australia took to the development of a zero waste program, which was focused on circular economy, and it was the first state in Australia to do that. And I think that program now is more than 15 years old. James Cook University was the first university in Australia to start to look at innovative food waste disposal systems on campus, to develop liquid biofertilizers from the organic waste produced on campus. Kwinana, Western Australia, we have a new waste to energy facility, which will look at some of the difficult waste that we normally would have sent to landfill. That's going to sit in the heart of the Kwinana Industrial Symbiosis Project, and the potential energy that's going to be produced by that waste to energy facility will be used by many of the industry players in Kwinana. And I think they're talking about the potential of about 40 megawatts of energy being produced, I think, annually. The New South Wales government has produced a report about energy from waste technologies, and they're starting to focus on a lot of the new opportunity for waste strategies to involve circular economy by burning the waste or through gasification processes. And Sustainability Victoria has a statewide waste and resource recovery plan, and that's starting to look at waste holistically from the point of view of organic waste through to plastic waste, through to toxic waste, and how can we, and what infrastructure do we need to handle and manage these within the state of Victoria. Also, the federal government has set up a recycling modernisation fund, and that's going to hopefully see a lot more investment in recycling and resource recovery infrastructure across Australia, with a particular focus on plastic, paper, tyres and glass. Okay, my last slide, if I can get it over to you. Is what the Smarter 2030 ITC strategy talked about as a way of focusing on the benefits of digital technology and circular economy principles. And it focused on smart agriculture, which was the use of ITC to improve the efficiency of our food production, increasing crop yields, reducing our waste, increasing access to markets, reducing our fertiliser use, reducing our water use to see much more water efficiency in our agricultural production. We also have smart manufacturing techniques, which is about the application of ICT to manufacturing processes, decreasing energy use, increasing our eco-efficiency and increasing our timeliness, our potential responsiveness. Smart energy, using ICT to match energy demand and to integrate a lot of the renewable energy that we currently have being produced by private suppliers and by the consumers, and how we get that into smaller grid systems to enhance the current energy systems we have, because particularly in Australia, a lot of our coal-fired power stations are now aging and they're getting to a point where soon we'll need to start looking at new systems. And so smart energy technology is going to help us hopefully incorporate this renewable energy into that energy system. Smart buildings, which is the potential to use software and sensors and controls to improve our workspaces, largely around reducing energy and air conditioning needs and to make it much more efficient. E-learning. It's obvious that we're using the technology of Zoom today to speak to you, but if we didn't have that, this COVID 6 months, then we wouldn't be able to have continued educating a lot of our university students. And lastly, smart mobility, the important realm of traffic and the ability to not just improve our congestion, but to connect a system of transport that sees a lot more carpooling and car sharing. It's much more smart logistics. And that really, for a country that relies on transport so heavily, is going to be an important outcome. So I hope that gives you a little bit of an introduction to what Australia is doing with digital technology and circular economy. Thankfully, Indonesia is a very young country, so hopefully it can take some of the lessons that Professor Govindan has from Denmark and Europe and some of the learnings that maybe we have here in Australia, and that you'll be able to upscale them in Indonesia. Australia's large footprint really makes it a responsibility for us to start working on how we decarbonise our economy. And today's presentation hopefully gives you a bit of an understanding of how our digital technology and the movement away from linear economy into circular economy principles could help us to do that. Thank you.
Is it mute or unmute? Mute, yeah, okay. Okay, thank you so much, Professor Michelle Rosano, and then for the enlightening presentation you had. The participant keep asking because they are wondering, are there any presentation, the PPT you have that you can share?
Yes, the slides that I saw today. Did you see my slides?
Apparently, we can't see your slide during your presentation.
I'm sorry, I was seeing the slides are ready and I'm very happy to share them with you. I noticed that the technology, I guess because of the Zoom lag between Perth and Indonesia, I'm sorry, I've been presenting to the slides. I'm sorry that your audience did not see them.
It's okay, no problem. But it still have a lot of questions here coming pop up in my WhatsApp as well, Professor Michelle. So there are questions also asking. I'm going to start. So we welcome also participants from students. So there are quite a lot of students also join for the today's session. Yes. So for the one who just joined us, Professor Michelle Rosano talked about renewable energy and digital economy inclusion. She also discussed about how Australia faced challenge and overcome it with various strategies and target in upcoming year. Yes, we've just seen your presentation just now, Professor Michelle.
I'm sorry, I beg your pardon. Okay, well, maybe if there's any questions that specifically relate to my slides, I'll pull up the slide as I'm answering them.
Okay. So I will just start then with the first and second questions for you, Professor Michelle. So this is from Nusran in FTI UMI, asking about the lesson learned from Australia and what can be implemented in Indonesia. And then another question, should I give you all the questions in the same time and then you can answer it directly or one by one? So
I think
which one do you prefer?
One by one, please.
Okay, so I will give you the first question first from Nusran FTI UMI, asking about the lesson learned from Australia and then what can be implemented regarding the circular economic here in Indonesia.
Okay, that's a very good question. Thank you. I think one of the important elements of circular economy and digital technology that we need to understand is that it needs a lot of infrastructure and public investment. So a lot of the planning and the ideas that I've presented today in the latter part of my presentation will require government and local government involvement. So I guess being aware of the opportunities for making the economy circular, understanding who has responsibility for waste, what sort of waste collection services they're putting in place are very important. To my mind, Europe has understood the need for this movement towards decarbonising in the focus that the EU has had on decarbonising and carbon taxes, putting a price on the carbon that we produce. And I think fundamentally that's a very, very important part of any modern sustainability effort, is starting to recognise that the circular economy principle is largely about decarbonising the production that we have and making much more resourceful and eco-efficient use of the resources that we use. And I think a classic example is the rare earths and the metals that are used in our digital technology are important to digital technology, but not every country has access to them. So if you're going to be purchasing those expensive materials from other countries, then you're going to have to learn to be very resourceful in the recycling of those products so that you can continue to recover those materials going into the future. So I guess this city here, this example of this particular diagram shows the extent of activities that we can get involved with using digital technology and circular economy principles across the Indonesian economy just as much as it is across the West Australian economy or the Australian economy. The commitment to it and having the leadership and the government involved in the planning of these sorts of activities is obviously crucial.
Okay, indeed, I do agree, Professor Michelle. So this is the second question from Asri Novia Sahrain, asking about how to reduce costs and carbon emission from logistical activities for like an island country like Indonesia.
Okay, that's a very good question. It's a question that Australia has been grappling with many years because we have very large transport sectors, and we are here in Perth, a 4.5-hour flight from our capital. So we understand that distance. I think the movement towards electric vehicles into more efficient transport sectors, the sharing of what we are transporting, having transport sectors that are connected. In Australia, we haven't got very much of a rail network, neither have you in Indonesia. So the movement towards electric vehicles and potentially, I guess, hydrogen fuel vehicles, which have lower input, are going to be important. You will also, I guess, given the density of your population and the density of your road space, have to work out how we can perhaps circularise production activities so that we don't need to transport things as far and wide as we need to. It is a very significant challenge for Indonesia, as it is for Australia. And I think trying to work on the circular economy model of looking at the impact of our production and our consumption decisions will help us work out more efficient ways, I guess, of transporting our goods and producing our goods.
So it's actually almost the same way how Indonesian also can copy what Australian do about reducing emission, like that, Prof.
It is. It's not an easy. It's a very good question. But there's no simple answer to that question. It is a real challenge for us, accepting that, you know, a third of, I think, Australia's overall greenhouse gas emissions come from the transport sector, and we need to export our products. We need to travel to work. We need to transport, you know, across 3,000 kilometres of land, exports of food from the east coast of Australia to the west coast of Australia. How we do that when we're still putting diesel in our trucks and petrol in our cars is a problem. We need to start looking at the new technologies. Those new technologies are starting now. They're not necessarily scaled up to the level that we need them. They may not be price competitive against the current fossil fuel systems that we're using for transport, but over time that will improve. But also I think it is about starting to recognise through perhaps movements like slow food, where if we're transporting these goods and services, they have a food mile print that is associated with them. So maybe we shouldn't be importing bananas from Cuba or anywhere else which ends up having these food mile print on them. We may need to start thinking about looking at local food production a lot more. We may need to start focusing on how we look at the overall footprint of what we consume every day much more differently. Or alternatively, we're going to have to look at ways of offsetting the carbon associated with that production and consumption. And one of the easiest ways to do that is obviously through the planting of trees or the prevention of any further deforestation, because they're one of the most efficient mechanisms we have for absorbing carbon.
There is another question here. I hope you also still have time to answer it. And then this question also to Professor Kanan. So you may also share your thought, Professor Kanan. So Bintang Satrio Aji asking about how to overcome the problem and the challenge that we face today regarding this COVID-19 pandemic. If we implement the circular economic in our economic system like that. So maybe Professor Michelle first, you can share your thought about this.
Sorry, can I have your question again?
Okay, so he asked about how to overcome the problem in economics regarding this pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, if we implement the circular economic system.
Okay, the question's not clear to me.
Okay, I'm so sorry. So he asking about how to overcome the challenge or the problem that we face nowadays if we implement the circular economic systems. He asking about the economic system that related to pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic nowadays that we faced. Can we implement the circular economic system and overcome the challenge we face nowadays?
Yes, I think that's what my presentation has been about. I think COVID-19 gives us the opportunity to recognize that in isolation, that digital technologies enable us to continue to trade, continue to purchase, and continue to consume, continue to communicate. So it has very significant benefits in that respect. And perhaps also in a world where we've had to contain the viral spread of COVID, that the use of digital tech has enabled us to keep apart and to provide enough distancing so that many parts of the economy could continue to survive, could continue to operate. it might be going forward that we learn a better model with more focus on circular economy principles through digital technology as a result of COVID-19. It may well have been a catalyst for improving our carbon footprint that may not have happened at the same rate had we have not experienced COVID-19. I don't know what Professor Govindan thinks about that.
Okay.
Yeah. So in terms of this COVID situation, I would like to look into the whole circular economy implementation in a much more value chain aspects here. So one of the circular economy thing is that due to the COVID, even though we increased little bit of waste with respect to the medical things, but on the other hand, we build some kind of resilient system for the whole value chain, which has impacted a lot in terms of economical aspects and environmental aspects and so on. So I would say that if you ask the direct impact, there is no, there is a few direct impacts, but indirect impacts in terms of circular economy with respect to the COVID, we have a lot many. So achieving an economical sustainability in terms achieving other two environmental and social aspects.
Oh, saya di mute pas punya saya. If you still need another more explanation, you may actually, oh, sorry. Unmute, okay. For the other participant who still need more in-depth explanation, maybe you can ask another questions, but we have one more questions here, both to Professor Michelle and Professor Kenan, asking about, 1 minute. Iqbal Farhan, how is the best sustainable engineering for the current pandemic situation? Maybe he asked about what is the best sustainable engineering form for the current pandemic situation. Maybe Professor Michelle first or Professor Kanan want to answer?
What is the best sustainable engineering for the pandemic? What do you know what angle of the pandemic they're concerned about?
Indeed, maybe Iqbal, you can raise your hand so we can ask you directly, because he only write here, what is the best sustainable engineering? Is it maybe form or system or something? Current pandemic situation. Or perhaps approach. How about, yes, I think it's talking about what is the best sustainable engineering approach for the current pandemic situation?
Well, the pandemic situation is one element of the challenges we face at the moment, but I think economy and circular economy principles are largely focused on decarbonizing the economy, and so the approach has to be many, from material use, energy use, design, and consumption. So it's multifaceted, but I'm just wondering, what is it about the pandemic in particular that's concerning the person raising the question, and why they're asking about it in relation to circular economy?
Perhaps Mr. Iqbal Farhan maybe will want to complete the question. So maybe we can pending this question first, like after he complete his questions. Yeah, yes. I guess so. Or Professor Kanan, maybe you have like a suggestion or thought about this one. Do you want to share with us?
I'm also not clear with what he was expecting in terms of the best sustainable engineering. The most of the pandemic situations are really related to the economic rebouncing effect. In terms of like sustainable engineering, it only has an indirect effect, I would say. So each of the government, they're looking about, okay, how they can really recover fast in terms of economical aspects. And I have not heard any government talking about environmental here, but still it is an indirect one because of this lockdown and everything online and usage of digital technologies and so on. It has indirectly reduced the carbon footprint and everything. But that's only an indirect effect, not in relation to the direct one. And if you look into some of the plastic waste and everything, that's also an indirect effect of a lot of restrictions with the travel and everything.
Okay.
So that could be.
It could be various things because I think it needs more in-depth questions about this because we haven't like understand whether he asked about approach or something. So Mr. Iqbal Farhan, maybe you can ask more. You can ask via chat while we have another discussion, and maybe we can re-ask the speakers also after the third speaker's session. So for Professor Michelle, thank you so much for your time and also your share for us. And then I'm so sorry because we actually cannot see your presentation just now. We are so sorry for that one. And we are so gladly if you can share to us the presentation as well.
Yes, very
because
happy.
I've got messages popping up in my WhatsApp asking about the presentation from Professor Kanan and Professor Michelle, both of you.
Yes, no problem at all.
Okay, thank you, Professor Michelle, and big hand applause for Professor Michelle as well for the pleasant presentation for us. I hope you both can still join us because we have the third speaker after this. So we welcome the third speaker, our beloved Ibu Yun Arifatul Fatima, PhD. But before she presents, I will read several CVs about Ibu Yun. So she is associate professor with experience conducting research in sustainable manufacturing, remanufacturing, 6R strategy, energy efficiency, waste management, and circular economy, which related to the current trend to technology and informatic computer technology. She also a Dean of Engineering Faculty of Universitas Muhammadiyah Magelang since 2016 until now. And then her research is focused to national research collaboration about smart city platform design, international research collaboration about design of adaptive waste management system, international research collaboration also talk about developing sustainability learning games for empowering children. And then the last one, the consumer perspective toward remanufacture auto parts with Indonesia and Japan. Ibu Yun also got the second time grant from Ministry of Research and Higher Education Indonesia for the world-class professor. So we welcome Ibu Yun for the third speakers, and Ibu Yun, she is beside me actually. She sits beside me, and then you've got 1 hour, Ibu Yun, and I will remind you if the time almost finished.
Okay, thank you very much, Mbak Nia. It was wonderful to have you here. And also, good afternoon, Professor Mr. Rosano and also Professor Kanan. It is my great honor to see you here. Even I feel that I would like to see you here, directly come to my university, and then we can have a good lunch, dinner together, actually. I hope that after this COVID, we can see each other, and then we can also continue to have a good collaboration in the future. Thank you very much, Professor Kanan, my great college and also professor from University of Southern Denmark, and also my lovely director when I was in Curtin University. And it is actually, I'm so blessed that you both here accompany me. I'm not in that level of you, but I try to learn from you how to be better and better. Okay. Thank you, Professor Michelle, again, and also thank you, Professor Kanan. And also, thank you for everyone who's still here with us. Actually, I would like also to introduce my world-class professor. This is actually my second round of world-class professor program, which is supported by Ministry of Higher Education. And then I have a good collaboration with Professor Kanan to conduct this grant, to conduct this program. And then this is actually our turn also. And hopefully next year, we will have a very good collaboration in research and also publication. Thank you again, Prof. Kanan. I hope that you also stay with me. So if someone or my colleague ask me question, then you can help me to answer. Okay. Thank you, Professor Michelle and also Professor Kanan. And also I want to thanks to all colleagues who has support me and also attend in this seminar from Indonesian, from the corner, from the west until from the south and north, and also from the somewhere else in Indonesia. Okay, may I start my presentation actually? So today I would like to share with you about the smart circular economy in Asian country, as stated by Professor Kanan and also Professor Michelle. They have already shared with us a lot of knowledge and also about their experience and also their the implementation of circular economy in Europe and also in the global world and also in the in Australia. And I know that even in a developed country, there are a lot of challenges, opportunity to implement the circular economy. And I think that in my country, which is still developing country, and other country in Asian country, we also have the same issue related how to implement circular economy in our country. So my presentation, excuse me. Excuse me, can you help me? Yes. So this is the outline of my presentation. First, I would discuss about the Asian economy development, and also the second one, I would like to discuss about the today linear economy and also potential risk and opportunity related to the circular and also linear economy which are happening now. And then the circular economy evolution and 4.0 industry future circular economy. And the last one is the current research on circular economy. Actually, the last one will relate to my current research and also my previous research. So if we are talking about the Asian development, Asian economic development, the Association of Southeast Asian Nation, Asian region, actually has a huge market of 3.6 trillion with a population of 622 million. So industry and service sector, of course, play important role in the gross domestic product of its member nation. So from this figure, we can see that Indonesia, with an enormous gross domestic product of about 872 billion US dollar, account for nearly 35% of the total Asian economy. And this GDP is mainly contributed from manufacturing industry and agriculture. Previously, our main contribution is from agriculture, but nowadays the contribution for our GDP come from manufacturing industry, which means there will be increasing in material and energy consumption and also production in Indonesia. In addition, Indonesia, which has the highest GDP in Asia, disposes about 69% of waste in landfill. So this is actually a problem for our country and other Asian country as well, because we are still in the Asian linear economy. So we have that this take, make, use, and dispose. So our talk always, we take it and we produce it and we use it and then just throw away. So this still there in our society, in our community. And then through this, even though through this linear economy, Asian member nations have achieved rapid economic development. This was attained at a significant environmental cost. So this linear economy actually significantly affected the increase of environmental problem, include increased energy and material consumption, which is affected to the material and also energy depletion. And also this material consumption, energy consumption, and production increase carbon dioxide emission, and also directly increase pollution and also waste. So from this figure, we can see that the linear economy actually have a potential risk instead of opportunity for improvement of the economy. So change in carbon dioxide emission per year in million ton in 2007 until 2011. We can see in the figure here that the increase of gross domestic product is also followed by an increase in annual carbon emission. And also Indonesia increased its carbon dioxide emission by 188.4 million ton in 2011. Compared to its annual carbon dioxide emission in 2011. And we know that in 2020, it almost more than 250 million ton carbon dioxide produced by this linear economy. So similarly, Vietnam, other Asian country, they also have the same problem. There is an increase of carbon dioxide emission by 59.3 million ton to 38.3 million ton, and then etc. And then compare to previous production of this emission. So from this linear economy, we can also see that there are potential risks, one more potential risk of the implementation of a circular economy, which is low resource productivity. So resource productivity indicates the effectiveness of the resource used for generation of wealth. And majority of Asian countries have low resource productivity, which not only signifies higher gross domestic product, but also minimize the environmental impact. So the higher the GDP, so the lower the environmental impact. However, the figures show that the low resource productivity of the Asian region. So majority of this Asian region and nation, for example, like Indonesia, Myanmar, Vietnam, Cambodia, Philippines, they have low productivity, except Singapore and also Brunei Darussalam and also Japan and Germany. Why? Because they have stringent rules, they have a good regulation, and they also have a very, very good policy, as well as a vibrant private sector which support the circular economy. And also in this country, they have also a lot of strong research and development system to support the circular economy, which is resulted in the higher resource productivity. That's why this is actually our what's it called, our future work. How can we learn from this country? And then the other impact or potential risk of this circular economy is the increase of energy consumption. So if we see in this figure, so we can see that Indonesia per capita electricity consumption has increased in recent years, along with the improvement of electrification ratio. And then the increasing electric power consumption means there should be more energy, matter production, more emission, pollution, and also more waste. In fact, in our energy mix is still dominated by fossil fuel and coal, which account for 38% and 30% of total primary energy in 2016. So even though our government, they really concerned on this issue, so we try to use new renewable energy, and the new renewable energy continue to increase, but still not realized at its full potential and lag behind other traditional source of energy, such as coal and fossil fuel. Currently, the supply of new renewable energy in Indonesia come from hydropower, biomass, geothermal, and also biodiesel. These sources of power have not been developed optimally due to various constraints, such as high initial investment costs, geographical location, and also low efficiency. And then the other potential risk also created from the linear economy in Indonesia, and also maybe in global and also in Asian countries, is waste generation. So now I'm narrowed down my presentation to Indonesia and also to waste. We can see here in the figure that actually waste generation projection from 2017 to 2025, they increased significantly. However, we try, and our government try their best to make a target to reduce the waste production. So they make target that in 2025, they can reduce waste 30%. And also 70% waste can be handled and they are not sent to landfill. So there is potential opportunity to improve the potency of new renewable energy and also waste this thing through circular economy. As we have listened from Professor Michelle and also Professor Kanan, how circular economy can help us to transform, to convert unvaluable product, unvaluable material into valuable material and energy. And then next, we can see here that one solution which is now is happening is circular economy evolution. So the circular economy is a systematic approach to economic development designed to benefit business, society, and also environment. So integrated between economic benefit, social benefit, and also environmental benefit. That's why circular economy is balancing these three aspects. And this circular economy actually have three principles. Design out waste and pollution, keep product and material in use, and regenerate natural system. So that actually will be good for our future generation. Because we try to reduce the waste and pollution, we try to keep product and material in use, and we try to regenerate natural system. So in this figure also, in the circle figure, we can see that the circular economy is happening in this all level of the process. So from product design, procurement, manufacturing, logistics, sales and marketing, product use, end of life disposal. And not stop in this point, but it will continue to reverse logistics. So this end of a life will not send to the landfill, but it will be transformed. It will be converted into valuable material and also energy. So even though they are organic or they are non-organic, so we can still make circular economy of this waste. So we know that in circular economy, we can apply the manufacturing, which can apply recycling, reuse, reduce, remodification, remaintain, and also resource recovery, industrial symbiosis, product life extension, even sharing platform, and also product as a service. So this is actually what we are going to apply in the current and also future to maintain our energy, to maintain our material, to maintain, of course, our generation. And then okay, so as I discussed previously that I would like to focus on my waste management, Indonesian waste management. So we can see here, this is actually Indonesia current circular economy. So in this figure, we can see that actually Indonesia and also our government, they have already made segregation for our waste. So they segregate our waste into 5. If our colleagues or other my student notice in the government office or maybe in our university, there are this box which are provided for us, and then we just need to consider which one should be organic, which one should be recyclable, which one should be reusable. So it depends on us. Of course, it will depend on our behavior and also culture and also knowledge, because this waste segregation different from one country to the other country. So once the waste is segregated, and then the next step is waste collection. So this is actually conducted by our government and also private and also scavenger. We have a lot of scavenger who help us to collect this waste. The scavenger is pemulung. Okay. Jadi, so do not look at them by one eyes, but look at them as a very, very good person who help us to reduce our waste. Okay, and then in this waste collection, actually we have we call it TPS, tempat pembuangan sampah sementara, or temporary collection point, and also temporary collection point 3R, reduce, and recycle, and also TPS with multi-compartment. This is actually apply in some city. For the TPS 3R, the 3R, so it is applied nowadays. Government gives support to village, a lot of village they give funding, and then they develop TPS 3R. And then another one is TPS with waste type based schedule. So this is actually best of the schedule. And for the for the dangerous material, actually come from hospital, come from the chemical, and then come from the industry, which are dangerous. Then they send to special drop box. And there is also TPS for dangerous special, TPS for dangerous material. Once waste collection is conducted, and then the next step is waste transportation. And in Indonesia, waste transportation is done by government with the help of private company. So we have some multi-compartment transportation like a truck, and also for the small street, so we have small vehicle to take the waste from the household, from the community, and they collect them, and then they will later on transfer it to the waste treatment. And then in this waste treatment, so we have a lot of part here. We had stakeholder here. First is we have a lot, 800 nowadays. We have waste bank. So waste bank is everywhere in Indonesia, and it helps to treat the waste. So they transform the waste into valuable product. For example, like packaging of coffee. So they transform it, convert it into a bag, into accessories. Very interesting, and it's valuable accessories. And in other part, our stakeholder is, excuse me, sorry. Okay, so other part or stakeholder is urban farming, and also composting house. We have a lot, and black fly solder. Black fly solder, I'm now working with my student in social work, social community. We try to introduce them to convert waste into a mango. So we use black fly solder in this program. So this is actually very, very interesting, because we try to make organic waste. We transfer organic waste into material animal edible material which can be fit to animal. And it is very interesting too, because actually we can make integrated farming from this. From waste, we convert the waste into mango, and then the mango is fed it to fish, and then the fish the waste from the fish is given to the farmers, and then the farmers and will give, and then they will sell the farms. And also the waste from the mango can be used for farming, for agriculture. It is very interesting, and I'm doing now with my student. Hopefully, the other waste treatment we have is central solid waste bank, as I told you, and then recycle center, integrated solid waste treatment plant, and also material recovery facility, and also some other waste treatment. So we can see here, this is actually the waste to valuable material and energy program, which have been conducted by our government. So this focusing on how to transform, how to convert material, how to convert waste into energy. So we can see here that Indonesian government, they have an 8 cities which conduct this waste energy. We call it waste energy. Power plant development in Indonesia. So it is placed in Jakarta, also in Bandung, Tangerang, Semarang, Surabaya, Makassar, Denpasar, and Surakarta. But actually, government is still revising the regulation, and then is still on, the project is ongoing. And then in other place also we have plant refuse refuel and family friendly energy, which can replace the use of coal with the waste through bio drying method waste management. And it is also very interesting, and it can be used by cement industry or the gas industry. And this also, I would like to share with you. Maybe my colleagues here, my student here already know that actually circular economy in Indonesia is, yes, they are there. Maybe we just don't know that this is called circular economy. Why? Because we like to reuse, we like to recondition, we like to remanufacture, we like to recycle, we like to make a composting. And they are very common in Indonesia, and also it is very, very easy to be found in Indonesia community. So if you ask about, oh, I want to find a recondition engine, so everyone know where is the recondition engine can be found. I want to buy, I want to repair this my engine, so we just need to send them to work shop, and they are available there in Indonesia. That's actually very interesting. And then this is some example. This is landfill gas power plant in Surabaya, Benowo, and then waste best power generation unit Surabaya for lighting, composting house, and flora house, and also composting house. They are everywhere in Indonesia. And then next, this also biodigester in Bandung area, methane gas in Semarang area, and also methane gas in Kendari area. So actually in Indonesia, we have about more than 13,000 islands. I think that they are there available in this area. And then this is, but the problem is the waste management through circular economy in our country is not optimally implemented and sustainable. So the economic value and also environmentally friendly, environmental value and social value is still under the expectation. Why? Because there are lack of integration. There are lack of valid data and information, and so lack of advanced technology support. So majority of them conducted by family, and then lack of monitoring system, and then high environmental pollution because they have no advanced technology applied, and high risk to human health and safety because they don't occupied by a good uniform. So together with this need to achieve this sustainability, so actually we get benefit from the development of industrial revolution. As we know, we are in the state of 4.0 industry, and this is actually give opportunity for us to use this to achieve this sustainability through use ICT and also IT in our circular economy. So we call it 4.0 industry circular economy. And in this 4.0 industrial circular economy, industry circular economy, we actually concern how we can use ICT to reduce material consumption, to reduce energy consumption, to reduce waste, to reduce pollution by integration of the system, by make a good system, and then we can achieve effective and efficient waste management or circular economy. And then this is actually moving one step ahead of circular economy is the Industrial Revolution 4.0, which means that this Industrial Revolution 4.0 is the movement of us to achieve better, sustainable, smart, circular economy. And then industry, because Industry 4.0 target minimizing the use of labor and optimizing the use of resource through the use of technology, through robotic, big data management system, cyber secure system, and also Industry 4.0 can achieve its goal of reducing dependency of unskilled and semi-skilled labor force. And Industry 4.0 is an alternative way for industry to maximize their profit while increase the efficiency of resource. Next, then this is some principle which is applied in this future circular economy 4.0 industry. So data analytic and making relevant and useful information available anytime, anywhere, anyhow to people, community, industry, and other circular economy stakeholder. This is actually one the lack of we have. So there is no integration. So the data different from department to department, from the West Bank, one West Bank to the other West Bank. So no integration. So by using the cyber secure system in this 4.0 industry, Internet of Things, everything is about Internet, and we make a collaborative and a smart waste management platform for big data analysis, we can actually enhance the efficiency of the waste transport network, the optimized utilization of the waste transportation vehicle, and maintain the treatment technology asset. And this also smart waste management platform develop integrated system. So we just need to use this to support our circular economy activity. And next, yes. And this is what I try to adopt the 4.0 industry in this Indonesian circular economy. So this is actually, the figure is our current waste management, but this actually additional ICT involved in this circular economy. So this is actually innovation, which I try to propose. So first is smart platform for collection system. So this platform can help consumer, industry, community collecting their waste using mobile application. So there are a lot of apps which can be used as collection system. And nowadays people just download it and then they can be collection people. This is a very, very easy. And then the second one is intelligent waste transport system. So this is actually innovation which we can propose. So intelligent waste transport system to monitor the waste transportation process using GPS tracking system and also CCTV analysis. This is very simple, but I think that this is a very good for our community to learn and our people to learn how to be smart in our circular economy. And this one actually integrated with management system to transform waste into suitable material using effective and efficient treatment technology. So by using this integrated waste management system, so people or stakeholder or the people who has authority with this waste management system, they can make a good, better decision. So they can choose which which technology is suitable for their waste. So nowadays they just mix it, but later on we can just spirit them. So this is actually suitable for incineration. This is suitable for composting. This is suitable because one plastic they have different material. So because they are different, so we must differ them based on this property. And this is actually very important to make to improve the final product created from this waste. And then the other innovation is waste sharing system. So in this waste sharing system, marketplace to connect the waste demand and supply, which connect the waste collection system, collection center with the industry. So nowadays, waste bank, there are a lot of waste bank. As I told you, 800 waste bank, and they work differently. They work by themselves. So this is not good for their economic performance. Why? Because they can only collect minimum amount of waste. But if they have waste sharing system, so they can give information. So the waste can be collected and then they can connect to big industry to process their waste. Nowadays, it cannot be done like that. Why? Because one waste bank, they only have small waste. And there are different waste bank, they have also different small waste. But now, if this 4.0 industry will be implemented in the circular economy, so we can make a waste sharing system. So this is actually very good. So there will be main waste bank, and then the waste bank will have a lot of waste bank, and they will work together, and they will collaborate together, and they will be strong. And then the last one is for the innovation is smart landfill system to identify the waste landfill level and to control waste contamination to the landfill. So for this one, this information can be informed and be transformed to the authority, government, and they can give good solution. What should they do to maintain this waste? Okay, and then next. And this is actually one research I have done, and it is also supported by the Ministry of Higher Education. I think that this research is a collaboration research with Professor Rosano. And this is digitalization I have applied in waste management, especially in the final disposal center. So we make the ICT and IoT as the core of the system. So there are integrated governance and also society, environment, and economy in the system. So we make really government to support us by the regulation, and also society by their behavior and culture, and also environment. So we try to maintain the environment. We give the information what the emission, pollution, and also the economy. So my system, or our system, is really integrated economic, social, environment, and also governance aspect. So this actually what we have done in our previous research, and this give actually opportunity, and this give benefit to economy, social, and also environment. Next, I will show you, this is actually the sustainable smart waste management system which we have developed. And in this system, we can see that there are a lot of sensors involved in this system. And then this also system is integrated system. So all compartment or all part in this system is connected, and also this is one of the prototype I have created, and then this also have been tested in the laboratory level. Hopefully in next year we can continue to make the real facility of this system. Because in the system we can see how much waste of this, how much waste in the final disposal center, anytime, anyhow, anywhere. So this is actually really very good research. And then next one, also one more research I have done. This is smart sustainable waste collection system. So this is actually related to the non-organic waste, which I've been done also. And this also involve ICT a lot. We use sensor and we use ICT, we use integrated system, because I also get support from my colleagues from information communication technology department, and they support us. And this is also the prototype which we have developed. So from this we can see the economic and social and also environmental performance of this waste collection system. And actually, if it is adopted by waste collection system, it will help us to improve their performance. That's actually what I would like to discuss. A small thing about Indonesia, small thing about waste management in Indonesia, and small thing about circular economy in Indonesia. And actually there are some more research about in the implementation of ICT in the animal edible material system. I have also done this in the previous year, and it was also very good research. Okay, next in my conclusion. So this is actually Industry 4.0, bear enormous opportunity to enable circular economy, in which end-of-life products are reused, remanufactured, and recycled, and it transformed into valuable material or energy effectively and efficiently. However, under the Asian context, the way forward with Industry 4.0 is still not clear enough. So this is what we should do. Strengthen regulation, policy, as well as industry participation and collaboration, and strong research and development system to support the role of ICT as enabler for circular economy are essentially need to be improved to support the achievement of smart and sustainable circular economy. So I highlight here smart circular economy is how we can we can optimize the role of ICT as enabler for circular economy. That's actually my presentation. Most welcome for question. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ibu Yun, for the presentation and then also for the enlightenment and then impressive presentation, because we are from Indonesia, so we are all actually can adapt and also understand very well about what you're saying and also what this the challenging we face here in Indonesia. So Ibu Yun has bridged between the circular economic explained by Professor Kanan and also Professor Michel, and then increase it to the smart circular economy, and also talked about what implementation has been done in Indonesia. So there are several questions here to Ibu Yun. Are you going to answer it in Bahasa or in English?
It's okay, bahasa boleh.
Okay. The first question is from Asri Novia Sahrain, asking about bagaimana cara meningkatkan peran masyarakat dan pelaku industri pada program bank sampah untuk mengurangi jumlah polusi dan emisi karbon. Dan di saat bersamaan dapat meningkatkan pendapatan masyarakat dan mengurangi kos pembuangan untuk pelaku industri, Bu. So, do you want to answer the question once or one by one or?
Okay, one by one. Okay, maybe for first question, how the role of community, ya, bagaimana peran masyarakat untuk meningkatkan program bank sampah. Okay, that's actually a good question. Thank you very much. And first is actually start from education. So education is very, very important. That's the foundation. So the foundation which can convert, which can change actually, which can change the mind of the people, our community. Education is very, very important. And then instead of education, of course, regulation. In our society, people sometimes they don't care about the regulation. They just cross the regulation. Even for traffic light, if it is yellow, so this is start to speed up. That's actually what is our lack. So we need to change our mind. We need to change the culture of the people. So as educated person, maybe my colleagues, we are in the higher education. So this is our responsibility to educate the society. So give them education, give them that this is actually good not only for the economic, but also for the environment and also for the social performance. And the last is leadership. Actually, this is very also important. If the leadership come first and then the community, they will follow. So this is very important. And then maybe we just need to say to our leader that please come together with us, not only to promote, but we work together. That's actually a good idea to push, to involve the community so they also can be part of this West Bank. Jadi seperti itu. Ya.
Okay. Thank you, Ibu Yun, for the answer, and also I hope Miss Asri Novia Sahrain also has already enlightened with the answers. And then I've got some participants raise hand here. One of them are Anna Susanti. Can you unmute yourself? Okay, Anna, are you there?
Okay, Assalamualaikum, Bu Yun. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, Bu Yun, this is Anna Susanti Yasman from Muhammadiyah University of West Sumatra. So I think your presentation is very nice, you know. And I just want to like to know about the plastic because it's very dangerous for our environment. So is that the new one to combat for plastic? For waste of the plastic for Indonesia? Can you let me know, please? Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Did you ask about the dangers of the plastic for the environment? Actually, because I don't hear the headphone and it's not clear enough. Could you please maybe repeat it again? Because the moderator now is using.
All right then. Yes, I'm talking about the dangers of plastic for our environment, and then how to combat, how to make the plastic for the nice one, because plastic is very hard to like make a composting, something like that. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum.
Dangers of the plastic, and then plastic is difficult untuk dibuang, tapi.
Okay. Extended protection. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Ibu Ana. Ibu Ana dari South Sumatra. Yeah. Ibu Ana, my dear friend. My dear friend, I think that she is also from Curtin University, Professor. Yeah, and it's lovely to see her.
I'm here, my dear Islam. You and Fatima.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the great equation. Yes, we know that plastic is very dangerous for not only for our people, but also for our environment. Exactly. And then this is actually our responsibility, our task actually to aware about it. And then this is not easy because we are not alone and we are with the community, and they have different life, they have different education, they have different culture, right? And then I think that our government has already stated in some regulation that they give warning to our industry to make packaging from the plastic. We try to reduce the use of plastic by providing with the paper bag. For example, nowadays, many or most of supermarket, they are banned to use plastic packaging, and also they are encouraged to use reusable bag. And also there is also regulation from the government through EPR, Extended Production Responsibility, that they also have industry, they also have to consider to use the plastic. And even though I'm very sad, when I went to a beach, yes, this maybe 1 year ago, I went to do beach Parangtritis. And then I thought that there are a lot of people there in the beach with a different color of t-shirt and then dress. Red, blue, white, and also green. Far away, it's like a people. But when I come closer and closer, it's so sad that they are actually plastic. And the plastic actually consumed. It is very dangerous in my marine area, also in the beach area, in the water. And nowadays, even the turtle, they swallow plastic. Even my fish also, they swallow plastic. Yes, this is actually very dangerous. And the second option to change the culture and give a promotion to use recycle or reusable bag, actually we do recycle plastic. So we try to make valuable material from used plastic. And we know that actually in the landfill, we found a lot of plastic which are not valuable. That's actually the problem. So for bottle, for maybe plastic for good packaging, from milk packaging, people like to collect them because we can return it back to the shop and we can get money from that. But for the plastic like the plastik kresek atau plastik yang nggak bisa digunakan, itu tidak ada nilainya. Nah, ini menjadi sebuah tantangan bagi kita. This is our challenge to reduce the use of this plastic. I think that's actually my answer. Maybe also I would like if Prof. Michelle to join us. Yes, just to give your opinion because she is also from Curtin University. She studied there.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. Okay. All right. What would you like some commentary on?
Yes. Can you just add your opinion how we can manage this plastic waste? So because we know that it is not a degradable material and that is very dangerous for us. What actually the action or what is actually program we can do for managing this plastic?
Yeah,
Because it is also very difficult to encourage our community to use reusable bag, something like that.
It's a very, very good question. A big part of the problem with plastic is that there are 5 or 6 main types of different plastics and not all of them recycle very well. So the typical response to plastic management has been landfill or burning for pyrolysis or gasification as a feedstock to produce energy. I don't know if that's actually the best use of plastic waste, but I think a couple of things need to be focused on. One, we need to have better collection systems for our waste, our plastic waste in particular, so that we've got the PTEs, the PTPs all separate because they'll all have different recovery or recycling options. That means we need to have better collection systems within our waste management, our local government structures, our community structures. And I think one of the biggest challenges, and it occurred to me this morning, is that trying to recycle plastic is made difficult from the types of plastic that we're using: food packaging, food containers, bottles, all the plastic gadgets that we now have in the home. If we could somehow standardize those sorts of features so that we could recover those items, food plastic all one way, bottles another, hard plastics into another space, we might have an opportunity with the right engineering design to then recover the materials, recover the fossil fuel that's being used in producing them, and to recycle them, because it's so shameful at the moment that the plastic waste that we produce really doesn't have a recyclable purpose. It's only very small. I know working on the development of biodegradable plastic so that we can then be somehow made back to the petrochemical forms, I guess, that have been produced from. But the solutions for plastic waste are still problematic. I don't think there's any real potential for it. The simple potential is to burn it. I'm not sure that's necessarily the best. And if we're going to reuse it, then we've got to be able to recover it, and we've got to find end uses potentially that are economic to use to usefully recover them or recycle them. So it is a good question. I don't know in Europe, Professor Govindan, whether there's any better options than what I've discussed.
Yes, Professor Kanan. Would you like to give opinion, please? Yes, Professor.
I'm not more into the plastic waste at all. Like I'm really a supply chain guy. So I think instead of saying the wrong answers, like I need to be politely say I have not really explored this plastic waste. We are also trying to convert this plastic waste into some kind of like biofuel. Some kind of initiative is going on into that aspects, but I'm not sure about this.
It's a good point. For example, Dr. Yun.
But we have a big forum for plastic waste, but still in the initial stage only.
Okay.
Yes.
In Western started last week, and a program that was started in South Australia, I don't know, 20 years ago, a long time ago. The container deposit scheme, where if you return certain types of waste, including glass and some plastic waste, you can earn cents for every piece of plastic waste that you bring back. Now, 10 cents may not be much incentive to the individual who just leaves his waste in the bin or drops it on the side of the road, but somebody will see 10 cents when they can collect 100 bottles. Students, charities, other people, and they will start to recycle these potential plastic bottles, and they will go back to a resource recovery centre who can then critically mass them together to provide an opportunity for someone to make or develop an economic proposition for their reuse and recycling. I think that has a potential benefit. And when I think of all the plastic bottles that we see in the ocean now, unfortunately in Indonesia, if the state governments or the national governments had a program of providing, I don't know, 10 rupiah or something like this for every plastic bottle returned to the transfer station, to the waste recycling centre, you might see the community and students and charities decide to run programs to collect the bottles, to return them for recycling. I think having a potential at this better recycling system and the potential to make consumers able to return them. In Japan, they have a fantastic program that if you buy a plastic bottle or plastic packaging to contain your food, when you've completed or consumed the food, you return the plastic packaging to the store that you bought the food from. And they will happily accept the plastic bag and they dispose of it. They pile it together and send it off for hopefully recycling or recovery, or in their case, maybe for gasification. But at least this way, the responsibility for the management of the plastic is back on the retailer. And so that means it's centralized and collected more effectively than if just the Japanese consumers are depositing the plastic waste in their own collection systems at home. I think it's slightly more effective. So I do think we need to start planning our potential use and reuse of the plastic better. And I think the world is just starting to recognize plastic waste. It needs to be managed much more effectively. I'll be very interested to see the success of the program in Western Australia, to see what impact it can have on our plastic waste management.
I can also add few things about the.
Oh yeah. Yes, you can
about
continue.
this plastic. No, what I meant about not knowing about the plastic waste is the technology. I don't know more about the technology, but we have an excellent plastic waste collection system that whenever you buy PET bottles like Coke or water or anything, you will be charged for the bottles like a deposit scheme. And then when you are done with the bottles, you can return the bottles in some of the collection centers, and then you can take it back the collection fee. And then it goes to the recycling of those plastics. So we have, I think we were ranked around like the top 5 best collection scheme in the world, I think. There was an article published in Journal of Cleaner Production talking about different types of collection system, the plastic collection system, which could also be based on incentives. And we were also ranked really top high in the whole review article about this collection system.
Okay, thank you, Professor Kanan and Professor Michelle, for the sharing. Also to Ibu Yun. Indeed, the plastic waste is a very big problem. We are in Indonesia, actually, always like Ibu Yun said, we recycle the plastic and turn it into different form of products like bag and etc. But unfortunately, it needs like improved the system very well, because the sustainability of the product is not very well increased already. I mean, maybe the system of the business also taking part in here. Like Professor Michel said, the business, the economic also can be implemented in improving the use of plastic waste. And then I'm so sorry because there are quite questions. One of the questions from Professor Michel as well, but the time is almost up, so we don't have any time to answer all the questions. Actually, Professor Michel asking about how is the centralized and planning in waste system in Indonesia? Can it be like the state level, or should be like national level like that?
I think we need to start from the national level. As I told you all, that leadership is a very, very important. And in Indonesia, regulation actually play also very important role in this activity. And national level, if this can be applied, and then it can be adopted to state and also local system. But actually, we also need to understand that different area, they have a different waste management. They have different waste production. Because, for example, like Jakarta, they are urban city. So people consumption of the people different with Magelang. Magelang is like a village. So probably the plastic waste generation will be higher in Jakarta in comparison with Magelang. So the policy of, and also to the program, the rule regulation must be applied nationally, but of course for the implementation of the program, it should be adapted with the local and situation of this city and area. I think that's actually what we like. And also maybe one more, Professor. Actually, I also heard about the question of the COVID impact in the circular economy. It is actually interesting in Magelang and also in Indonesia, because there are two sides. Actually, there are two things. We get a problem, we also get the benefit. Because of work, or maybe for the benefit first, because many of us work from home, so we don't use car transportation a lot, and we just stay at home. And then this is actually very good for our fuel, because I feel it by myself. So every week I have to pay about for example, like a 500,000 to my fuel. But when I have to work from home, so the fuel consumption reduced. So maybe I only need about 50,000 in a week. So that's actually good, the transportation. And I think that also this effect to the pollution created from this actually. And the other side also, instead of what's called transportation, fuel consumption reduced, and also there is a problem related to the use of uniform of the hospitality. So so from the hospital. So there are a lot of dangerous material created from the hospital. So it is actually, it's already stated by our government that a lot of dangerous material, a lot of dangerous dress produced by hospital because of this COVID. So this is actually also our responsibility, how to give a good solution in this pandemic situation, that circular economy still can help this situation. I think like that. Maybe that's actually my opinion, Professor. Yes.
Thank you, Ibu Yun. Thank you, Professor Kanan and Professor Michel. Before we finish or we end our seminar session, maybe you have a closing statement from Professor Kanan first, please, sir. Yes. Mute. Sir, you're still mute. Can you unmute yourself, please?
Okay, yeah, sorry. Yeah, first I would like to thank Dr. Yun for organizing this seminar in a really nice and big way. I thought that maybe only like 10 or 15 participants will be participating in this one. And then last night, I think when I asked her, she was saying that, oh, we have 800 accounts. Oh my God. So why? Because I had an experience with the last year world-class professorship things. And when we had the seminar, it was only like 15 or 20 people watching this, the presentations and everything. But this one, COVID has made us to be a bit more bigger in terms of volume as well as wide. Like it could be the wide audience from different parts of the world. And then it's also a really good opportunity to meet several participants, including professor from Cotton University. Like I heard and I have seen some of her works, but it's really nice to meet her in, like, not in person, but at least online. At some point, we can also meet. I had my plan with Australia, but then everything has collapsed. Like I'm still waiting for last 10 months or something like that. Let's see at one day, like we will have a visit. And then the topic chosen for this seminar was really timely for not only for Indonesia, but for throughout the world. Like we face a lot of challenges, and then the circular economy itself is also a hot topic, even within the Europe and North America, South America, and even I can also feel that, okay, this is the hot topic for Australia as well. So that's why, like, we have also collaborated with Dr. Yun for at least this is our second or third year collaboration, and we were a bit successful, and we moved forward to the next step also. Like we targeted national projects and so on, and yeah, 1.5 months still left to know the results and so on. Hopefully it will be a nice outcome, but still we will continue with the collaboration, how we will learn each other in terms of the capacity building within this topic. What are the lessons that could be learned from Europe, then Asia, then Australia. And maybe it will be nice if we can include for the next seminar one from North America. So then we are really and then if you want, we can also bring a guy from Africa also. I have a close friend, we are working with the similar Danida, one from Kenya, another one from Ghana. So then it becomes a real international workshop with covering the whole world. But really, I'm happy to be part of this World-Class Professorship 2020 seminar series. And I think I have 3 more seminars left. So I'll be continuously visiting you every week through the online sessions.
Okay, wow, that's quite a lot, Professor Kanan. Okay, thank you, Professor Kanan. And then Professor Michelle, maybe you can share your last thought for us as your closing statement.
Yes, thank you very much. Firstly, I really apologize that for some reason my slide presentation did not appear. I was talking to the slide presentation while I was talking to you, and it was slow in coming through, but I did not realize that you were not seeing it. So I'm very sorry, because I went to some trouble to make sure there were more pictures than words. So it didn't matter in Bahasa that I was speaking in English, because the pictures were telling the story. Nonetheless, I will send this copy to Dr. Fatima, and I will allow her to disseminate it to you. I think the important thing for us, when I think of Yun's presentation and Professor Govindan's presentation, is that the technologies that we've talked about, the sustainability principles we have talked about, are all about saving money as much as they are about improving our resource productivity. It's about doing things better. It's about being smarter. That's why we call them smart technologies, smarter principles. So I think when I look at new students coming through and I try to think about our old ways of doing things, the linear model, then really it's a very dumb approach in comparison. And who wants to be dumb when you need to be smart? So I think it's sensible that we look at the new technologies and the models that we're talking about today around sustainable production and consumption as being elements of progression. That's why it's industrial 4.0, not industrial 1.0. And I think that improvement in learning will hopefully see us better in the future and see our new students coming through adopting new technology and new ways of waste management and of engaging with the economy that reduces our footprint. That's what I'm hopeful of. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Michelle. And then the last closing statement from Ibu Yun. Ibu Yun, your time.
Okay, I just want to say thank you so much actually to Professor Michelle, my dear lovely professor, and also my director. And also thank you so much to Professor Kanan. We will still have 3 more seminar, and then I hope that you will not get bored. I think that we still have a good effort to share a lot of knowledge, your experience also. And I think that your idea about invitation for others, professor from Kenya, Ghana is a good idea also. And then my great honor if you could also help us to sounding or to just to contact him, and then he or she can join us in our seminar. And also thank you so much to all of participants. Thank you so much. We still have 3 more seminar. 1 week, 1 seminar. So next week we will have seminar with different topic, but still in up-to-date title and theme. And I hope that you can join us. Don't forget, always stay tuned in our YouTube, our Instagram, and also WhatsApp, and we will share with all of you about the information of our next seminar. Okay, one more time, thank you very much again to Professor Kanan and also Professor Mr. Rosano, Professor John. I hope that both of you here in Indonesia, hopefully next year, inshallah, you can come and visit me, inshallah, in next year. That's thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Yun. Ibu Yun has already taken my job as the moderator by closing. Okay. And then we have a very big round of applause for all of us. Thank you so much, Professor Kanan, Professor Michelle, Ibu Yun, and all participants for joining us. Don't forget, we have another round and then session for seminar. Next seminar will take 13 October. And then the time will be extended production responsibility, opportunity, challenges, and the lesson from international experience. We hope you all can join us. And once again, thank you so much for everyone. And then we are waiting for another participation for our upcoming seminar. And I'm so sorry for any mistake I've made as a moderator. And then see you again in another time. And then Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you.
Fakultas Teknik Universitas Muhammadiyah Magelang didirikan pada tahun akademik 1982-1983 dengan mengemban visi menjadi fakultas teknik yang unggul dalam bidang ekoteknologi dan information technology berdasarkan pada Islamic value dan mampu bersaing di tingkat Asia Tenggara. Fakultas Teknik Universitas Muhammadiyah Magelang mengembangkan kompetensi mahasiswa melalui sistem pendidikan yang mengacu pada ASEAN Qualification Reference Framework, International Qualification Framework, dengan melaksanakan sistem penjaminan mutu akademik dan administrasi di lingkungan fakultas. Fakultas juga mengembangkan penelitian dan menyebarluaskan ilmu pengetahuan pada bidang ekoteknologi dan information technology yang diakui dan dikenal di tingkat nasional, regional, dan internasional. Fakultas Teknik juga melaksanakan pengabdian kepada masyarakat melalui difusi produk akademik, serta membudayakan perilaku Islami kepada sivitas akademika Fakultas Teknik untuk mendukung tercapainya tujuan persyarikatan Muhammadiyah. Fakultas Teknik Universitas Muhammadiyah Magelang berkomitmen untuk menghasilkan lulusan yang unggul, serta berorientasi pada kebutuhan stakeholder dan perkembangan ilmu pengetahuan dan teknologi dengan melaksanakan catur dharma perguruan tinggi yang disertai pengembangan nilai-nilai Islam dan kemuhammadiyahan sehingga menjadi nilai tambah selain melaksanakan pendidikan, penelitian, dan pengabdian kepada masyarakat. Fakultas Teknik Universitas Muhammadiyah Magelang menaungi 4 program studi, yakni S1 Teknik Industri, S1 dan D3 Teknik Informatika, serta D3 Mesin Otomotif.
Fakultas Teknik Universitas Muhammadiyah Magelang berkomitmen untuk memajukan program studi S1 Teknik Industri, S1 Teknik Informatika, D3 Teknik Otomotif, dan D3 Teknik Informatika melalui 1. Perbaikan pembelajaran dengan mengacu pada kurikulum berbasis kompetensi dan mengacu pada standar nasional pendidikan tinggi. Yang kedua, komitmen Fakultas Teknik adalah peningkatan kuantitas dan kualitas dosen pengajar melalui studi lanjut dosen di dalam negeri dan di luar negeri. Komitmen yang ketiga adalah peningkatan kualitas publikasi, penelitian, dan pengabdian masyarakat melalui pendanaan penelitian unggulan perguruan tinggi, Insinas, BRPI, dan hibah internasional. Komitmen Fakultas Teknik yang keempat adalah penguatan kerjasama dalam lingkup nasional dan internasional untuk mensupport proses pembelajaran penelitian pengabdian masyarakat. Dan komitmen yang terakhir adalah peningkatan keterlibatan dosen dan mahasiswa dalam kegiatan persyarikatan Muhammadiyah.
Untuk mendukung proses belajar mengajar di Fakultas Teknik Universitas Muhammadiyah Magelang dilengkapi beberapa fasilitas. Ruang-ruang kuliah yang kondusif, laboratorium yang memadai, anjungan internet dengan koneksi yang cepat, hotspot area, masjid, perpustakaan, komunitas peminatan mahasiswa.
Selain itu, penjaminan mutu di lingkungan Fakultas Teknik berorientasi pada terpuaskannya stakeholder internal dan stakeholder eksternal melalui siklus penjaminan mutu, perencanaan, pelaksanaan, evaluasi, pengendalian, dan peningkatan mutu program studi yang dilakukan oleh dekan, ketua program studi, tenaga pendidik. Fakultas Teknik bekerjasama dengan gugus kendali mutu fakultas yang memiliki garis koordinasi dengan Badan Penjaminan Mutu Universitas. Fakultas Teknik Universitas Muhammadiyah Magelang berkomitmen untuk memajukan program studi S1 Teknik Industri, S1 Teknik Informatika, D3 Teknik Otomotif, dan D3 Teknik Informatika melalui perbaikan pembelajaran dengan mengacu pada kurikulum berbasis kompetensi dan mengacu pada standar nasional pendidikan tinggi. Selain itu, Fakultas Teknik Universitas Muhammadiyah Magelang juga berkomitmen untuk meningkatkan kuantitas dan kualitas dosen pengajar melalui studi lanjut dosen di dalam negeri dan di luar negeri.
Bersama Fakultas Teknik Universitas Muhammadiyah Magelang, unggul dan Islam.